Hello and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are the Yerky Boys. Oh man, we're back to books.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since we've done books, and we also won't do them again for a while after these next couple.
Mm-hmm.
This is Alternamorphs 1, The First Journey.
Released in March 1999.
So going back a little bit in time here.
Yeah, so I mean, here we are. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about with the Alternamorphs. I really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Real quick before we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that I just say right now, thanks for listening to the show. And there has never been a better time to be a patron of the Yerky Boys Patreon page.
I think you're right.
You would agree?
I would agree. It's a very exciting time over there on Patreon.
This last week, we read our own fan fiction, Animorphs fan fiction we wrote, in addition to submitted fan fiction from our listener base, our patrons. And there's a 3-hour episode of that fan fiction over there. For $5, you will get access to that, plus all of our weekly bonus episodes in the back catalog and going forward, and exclusive song parodies, of which you got 2 big ones in the last few weeks. I just think, I mean, you can't do better. Plus, next week, we're going to start reading Everworld. I mean, we are going to read one book of Everworld. It's this week, actually.
Yeah, we're not going to start reading. Like, we're not going to read the whole thing, but
we're just reading the first one. But still, if you're an Animorphs head and you're not on the Patreon yet, what are you doing? Oh my God.
You're right. He's right. You really should get on there. It's only $5 a month.
Patreon.com/the Yerky Boys. We also will read emails on this show, and we sort of have, in a way, what some might call emails this week to cover.
In a way?
Yeah.
Did they come via email?
Well, no.
Oh. So in the sense that they are not emails, they're kind of like email.
Right, but I think there's a certain jingle that we can still have.
Okay, so people still, you might say they might have shared something with us, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
The sharing.
Great, this is the part of the show where we take a look at what listeners are saying in response to our show. You can always email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com, but I had a couple of things I wanted to cover here that are a little bit, they're from a few weeks back, but I wanted to get them in. First up, I was looking over on X. You know about X?
Is that, I don't have a joke ready.
It used to have a different name, but no one really remembers it anymore because X has just become so ubiquitous. We're all about
what
X
were people
now.
saying? Let me know.
Just a couple. I just wanted to because there's a thing. We don't post on there anymore.
We never really posted. We did a couple times.
I did for like a couple months, maybe. I was somewhat consistent with it and then just decided screw it and stopped. But there were a couple of things on there that I thought, why not read them on the show? One I told you about off pod. This is from at Movie Polls with a Z. They're about to be, they want to be immortalized on our show. This is at Movie Polls with a Z.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, probably 4 or 5 months ago now. No, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I made in our episode about the sacrifice. I made a joke about Rachel doing a paraphrase of Walter White from Breaking Bad, saying "I am the danger."
Mm-hmm. I remember that joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and Movie Polls said, as someone watching Breaking Bad, I appreciated the "someone gets mauled and you think that of me" ad-lib from the Sacrifice episode.
Wow.
I just thought that was nice.
They actually listen.
Yeah, that's a listener right there.
Yeah, that's not one of these. I mean, Movie Polls, you hear that and you think, okay, maybe this is just one of those, would you like my AI generated guy to come on your podcast type of accounts, but no, it
No,
sounds like they're
no.
a real person.
Movie Polls is the real deal. They're followed by a few other Animorphs podcasts, as well as Michael Grant. So they're clearly like somebody who is engaging with the Animorphs community on X.
We're kind of a big part of the Animorphs community at this point. I think we're big names. I think
We
everybody's
gotta
pretty much
be.
heard of us.
Surely we're in the top 10. Anyway, then there's another little tweet thing. When I tweeted about how we were about to wrap up the books, we got a reply from @EricWrestle. I'm saying his full name because it's his Twitter handle. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I mean that's the citation. That's the handle they use. He
He said,
uses Eric.
he says, I'm still on the David trilogy. By the way, it's not spelled with a E and a K at the end.
Yeah, nobody actually does it like that. That's
Well,
a fake name.
it could have been, maybe it was
I see,
him.
like as a fan. Okay.
Or like, this is the
Or like
real
the
Eric.
actual. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, I'm still on the David trilogy. I was hoping to catch up in time to meet at the end, but the past few months have been busy for me. Anyway, I just thought I'd acknowledge
That's nice.
that.
Well, it's nice to know we're still getting new listeners, people coming in and hopping in and trying to catch up. You know,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
just stagnating with our current base is all we've got.
If you're someone who like has actually been following the show for all or most of its run week by week, you're kind of like, that's a rare thing, because here's the thing, even when we're done, this show will be on the internet, until the world explodes.
Hmm.
The vast majority of our listeners from like the future, from all time of our show, are going to hear it after it's finished.
That's true. And we're gonna really blow up in popularity, I think, after the podcast is over. So
Yeah,
there's
after we
also just
die.
gonna be that too. Yeah, this
Well,
is gonna be like a relic. People are gonna, historians are gonna be the point here being that like once we get to the point where millions upon millions of people have listened to this, most of them will be post conclusion.
yeah, which is kind of weird to think about. And I am planning on, for our final episode, we do a double suicide, which I think will really get us a lot of listeners.
I see. Yeah, you'd been talking about a single suicide, but now that you mention it, double sounds better, more
Yeah,
appropriate.
I guess a more accurate term would be murder suicide,
Sure.
because I think I'm gonna kill you.
I see. Like we both at the same time type of
I'll
thing.
kill you, then kill myself.
Oh, I see. Or don't you think it would be just like a little nicer if we both, you know, we each pointed at the other's head and three,
I
two,
just
one, go.
really, before I die, I so badly want to know the feeling of taking another human being's life.
Listen, I get it. It makes sense.
I
We'll
guess I'm sort
workshop
of
this.
David-esque in that way.
Did you
Listeners, by the way, if you're having suicidal thoughts, you should call a hotline and talk to somebody.
did you have any more X's for us?
Yeah, this was all really just kind of a preamble to the meat of it, the real big deal.
Okay.
This is a little bit on Reddit, as well as there's they liked one of our tweets as well about when we finished the show. But do you recall during our season 5 finale wrap up episode, one of the responses I read on Reddit was from a user named Seerowpedia,
I do remember that.
and we were wondering, is this the Seerowpedia?
I was wondering.
Well, after that episode aired, Seerowpedia replied to my response to whatever they said, which I don't remember. I mean, I'm looking at it. I could remember, but I don't want to.
That bad, huh?
They said, just listened to the season wrap-up episode. Yes, it's the Seerowpedia.
Whoa.
Not sure where the, quote, F Seerowpedia, end quote, animosity comes from. Guess I gotta catch up on my Yerky Boys episodes. :P, tongue out emoticon.
Yeah. I like that way better than the stupid emojis. I mean, I love those emojis.
Okay. What you know, Lane is listening. You don't need to be. Come on. Now, I mean, I haven't replied to this on Reddit. I don't know if Seerowpedia is now an active listener of our show or if they're going back from the beginning or what. Should I respond to them though? I was thinking maybe you could help me come up with a. Should I
Hmm.
explain the animosity or should I just say fuck you?
I don't even know how to give a succinct. I feel like the actual explanation to the animosity is just like you know what I mean, like a grievance list, right? Like with
Should I
just
just
like
say you'll
dozens of
just have
bullet points of yeah.
right? I could submit a bullet point list. I could just say you'll have to listen to the show to find out. Wink.
Right. That would be something you could say.
Or I could say, we're just goofing, Seerowpedia. We love you.
Hmm.
I could say something like that.
I mean, I listen. The question. Here's the thing. I love that these Seeropedia is our listener. I just their behavior online on the like fandom wikia area, that it's not in line with my personal ethics and sensibilities. I just wish they would be better behaved in certain spheres on the internet. For
Should
example, their wiki.
should I say that? We just wish you would be better behaved in certain spheres on the internet. For example, your wiki. I might confuse them more.
I don't know what to tell you. You can write
What
whatever
if
you
I
want.
say, we're just playing?
You can write whatever you want.
Hmm. What if I ask
This is-
Chat GPT what to say? Okay. You know what? We'll resolve that maybe by the end of the show, but I wanted to make it known on the podcast that Seerowpedia is listening. And why do we hate them? Who knows?
You you should know by now, right? Again, you shouldn't listen to this podcast out of order. If you've been listening, then why don't you know that yet?
Well, I think a lot of people, I mean, this is a number one, so this is a good place to jump in fresh.
I
This is
see,
like
I
kind of
see.
a reset point for the show, is the very first Alternamorphs before we cover the rest of the Alternamorphs series.
Oh yeah, it's very extensive. That is, you do bring up an interesting point though, which is I don't know how much interaction we have left with Seeropedia. Will I still be looking at it when we get to the TV show? Uh,
Probably.
I guess. I don't know if they have extensive articles.
I don't
Uh,
know. I
I
imagine they do.
do you think that they'll have like goofs and stuff in the same way?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
they don't they didn't have any goofs for alternative morphs one, which I assume is because it is like an
The whole book
alternate
is a goof.
timeline, right? So like so anything that's not quite right in there, it's like, well, but in the Alternamorphs universe, that's how it works. So
Goofs. There isn't actually another Animorph that's you. um, yeah, I think they do. I think the TV show, I imagine, I don't know about goofs, but I'm sure they have pages for the episodes and they might have some trivia and stuff in there. Because that's a big part of it, I think. I think they have that. Anyway, we'll find
Okay.
out in a couple of weeks. We're not at the TV show yet. Soon.
I have nothing to say about Seropedia negatively or positively about this book. How about that?
Cool.
Like I looked over it. I did look at it just to see if I had any complaints.
Should we talk about the first journey?
I mean, I'm ready to. I've been ready to. You're over here trying to figure out how to comment to somebody on Reddit,
Well, here's the
but
truth. Well, first of
uh-huh.
all, that was important and that needed to be done.
Mhm.
Second of all, I think maybe we might need to fill this episode out a little. I mean, look, I know we've said that in the past and it's never true.
See, I my immediate thought with when I was reading this book was I think that might be true, but then I started thinking, we haven't done any Alternamorphs yet. So like the
Right.
whole thing, we've got to set that foundation,
Yeah,
It's going to take
next
a
week might
while.
be the show that we really need to worry about length. I don't know. I
It's
don't
going to be
know.
fine. Listen, the episodes are going to get shorter. You're
You
not going to
think
get your 3-hour episodes anymore from here on
they're
out.
not?
I don't think.
Yeah, they're
I
going to be 5 at least.
No, but I do believe that we can make 2-hour episodes out of anything, and I'm not too worried about that.
Okay, so where do we start with Alternamorphs? Because we're going back in time, as you said.
Hmm.
The first thing I want to get straight is, when in the timeline was this book released?
Yes, so this book was released during the same month as the Cow book, where Axe turns into a cow.
I need a number.
Book 28.
Okay.
So
So we're kind of right in the middle.
yeah, so this is far enough back that like um Marco hasn't tried to kill his mom yet, right? We're before Visser. Um but we are post the David arc, and we're also post the Isquart.
See, if I had, because I didn't look at the date when this came out when I was reading it.
Mhm.
If I had to guess as to when this book came out, I would have guessed maybe it was like around book 15-ish.
It does
Be-
feel like that.
yes,
Or maybe at most like the early 20s, right?
even any like pre-David, it feels like
Mhm.
strange, honestly, that this is post David. The entire series about how horrible it is to have a sixth Animorph, and they're like, but what if you did it? I bet you'd do a good job.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is kind of odd, thinking about that. And I wonder if the David trilogy had anything to do with the idea behind the Alternamorphs. Like, I don't know. They added a new Animorph, but we're trying to figure out how we can market it as a choose your own adventure, because Goosebumps obviously is killing it with the choose your own adventures. So I don't know. Like, do you think it came from that whole David thing, or what? Because you are right. It feels weird that they do the book the way that they do it, right? It very much is, this might be getting ahead of ourselves, how you might expect to write, like, okay, what if you were an Animorph? And not like, okay, you're going to join up and then there's going to be a David thing and blah, blah, blah.
yeah, well, clearly they took a look at all the fan fiction with the self-insert characters people were writing.
Hmm.
People want to be an Animorph.
Mm.
I mean, I think that's, it seems like a pretty obvious choice to me. Yeah, I don't know if the person who wrote this was aware of the David trilogy.
Yeah, it's hard to say. No, I
Maybe
just
they
mean,
wrote
like, do
this
you.
3 years earlier and it wasn't published yet. What do you mean?
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, you're fine. It's fine. Yeah.
No, I want to
I
know what you
don't
mean.
know. It is legitimately hard to tell. Um, Here's another thing about this book. I don't know who wrote it. Seerowpedia credits this as coming like on the list of ghostwriters page. Okay, actually, you know what? I do have a complaint about this book on Seerowpedia. On the list of ghostwriters page, they credit this to Tanya Alicia Martin, who was K.A. Applegate's editor, and she is credited in well, not credited, but she is shouted out in the dedication page where it would normally thank the ghostwriter. It actually says, for Tanya Alicia Martin, who morphed this idea into reality. Um,
Mhm.
Now, then you get to the actual page for Alternamorphs, and it says, she didn't actually write this. And then it links to an AMA she did on Reddit where she says, "Yeah, I didn't write Alternamorphs. It was just I was the one who pushed for the idea of doing a choose your own adventure series." So, why did they credit her on the ghostwriters page? Because I believe I said on the podcast before that Tanya Alicia Martin had written Alternamorphs, but no, she didn't. And we don't know who wrote it.
Hmm. Seerowpedia, go fuck yourself. I hope you're listening. Seerowpedia, you fucking idiot.
And Tanya has been in the dedication pages before. I had to look up who she was on at least one occasion.
Tanya didn't write any other books. She was just an editor.
Nope, yeah, she was an editor, and I think she was here for the whole run, like from the beginning.
So who the hell wrote this book?
I did not see any answer on that question, including on the Reddit AMA where people asked, and she just didn't, kind of ignored that question.
I have a theory. It was like 3 interns at Scholastic. This was not. No professional writer wrote this book.
I think it's very possible that that's true. It's also very possible that the name has been hidden to protect the identity. It's
What's the screenwriter name, the fake name they use whenever they don't want to tell anyone they wrote the movie?
oh yeah, I know this
Arthur Mealy or something, Martin
something.
Shawley.
There's also possibility that this is a KA original. She wrote it on, one of her like coffee benders, and she was very embarrassed and tried to make out it's like, oh, it was Tanya's fault. It's Tanya's fault.
Yeah, Alan Smithy, that's the fake
That's
name.
right. Yes.
Yeah, it could be. I think maybe, KA just got drunk one night and somehow wrote this one. Like it was just on her. Maybe it just appeared on her computer like an angel wrote it. She was like, I don't know. I just woke up and it was there. It was sent down to me from the heavens.
I feel like that didn't happen.
I
Like
think maybe it did.
I don't think that's how it went down.
Or maybe it was the Drode.
Now
Maybe
maybe the Drode did write this.
I think he might have. That and every time you read it, you're creating new timelines, and in some of them you die.
Mm.
We should explain. People might not
Yeah.
even know what this is. I mean, we kind of alluded to it, but
That is true. We
this,
haven't really gotten into it.
yeah, Alternamorphs. There are two of them. We'll be
Mhm.
covering the second one next week, and they are choose your own adventure books. Now, maybe we should explain what that means. Some of the Zoomers might not know.
Yeah, it's a curious thought to think that maybe somebody doesn't know what a choose your own adventure book is, but the basic idea is that the whole thing will be written in like second person or whatever. So it's like you do this and you do that usually. And then and you'll read a couple chapters and then you'll get to a point where you, the main character, has to make a decision. And it'll say if you want to do this one thing, you go to this page. If you want to do the other thing, you go to this page. And then you flip to whatever choice you make and you keep following that story and you go until you either get a good ending or a bad ending. And that's the basic idea.
It's like AI only pre-written. I
Is
would
it?
say this. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to make it understandable to Zoomers.
Okay.
They won't get it if we don't talk about AI and crypto.
I mean, Zoomers don't even know what a book is, so I don't even know why they're listening to this.
They know what a book is. They're just always trying to touch the pages.
Didn't
How
some
come it doesn't
Netflix show do a
scroll?
choose your own adventure show or something?
Yes, there's a couple of those. Black Mirror did Bandersnatch, which was like an interactive. You made a choice at the end of scenes, and then there was also a Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt that did it. I think there's a couple of other ones too. But yeah, that was a thing they tried a few times.
So
I did the Bandersnatch one.
if you don't read, then it's sort of like that.
This was for kids who their parents couldn't afford video games. They were like, "This is good enough, right?" It's interactive.
Goosebumps was a big deal though. People loved the choose your own. Are you telling me you didn't read the choose your own adventure Goosebumps books?
I had one or two of those.
Mm.
I liked them. I mean, the big one obviously is the one that's actually called Choose Your Own Adventure, right? Like, I assume the original
Yeah, no,
one.
I think that is. I'd have to look at to see if that is the original one, but like you say, that's the big one, but it certainly wasn't
Maybe not for
for
you.
yeah, not for like anyone I knew growing up when I was 8 or 9 or whatever.
Well, what other? I mean, I think that was it. It was them. There's a few Goosebumps ones. Like,
There's a
were there
shitload of
that many?
Goosebumps ones. There's dozens of them.
Oh, well, that I didn't know. I wasn't
Mm,
as big of a Bumps head as you.
I guess.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
I
the
had like maybe one of those. I don't think I really got into them.
okay. Yeah, no, I mean like they were a big deal. And
Hmm.
I don't know, for me I always go I know or at least I'm pretty sure that that was not the original. But yeah, the other
Well,
ones are
yes.
just kind of like yeah, I don't know.
I do
Um
think the original, the Choose Your Own Adventure books that are called that are from maybe the 80s or maybe even the 70s.
yeah, I remember doing something. I don't remember if it was one of these, but I did one of these just like as an adult for fun. Like one of my friends bought it and was like, "Oh, we should do this on some trip or something." And it sucked because I just like made it was like a what if you were stranded on a mountain? I was just like, well, let's just make the decision that's like the right one here, the good decision. And then it was just very boring. It was like, and then nothing went wrong and you got rescued. And I was like, oh, well, that sucked.
You won. Well, I can tell you, I had one of these when I was a kid that I will remember for the rest of my life, which was Aladdin's lamp. It was like
Mm.
the search for Aladdin's lamp, something like that. Which was you were just a normal kid and you're like at a museum and you find Aladdin's lamp and there's a genie or something. And the one part that has stuck with me my entire life is you go down a dark like secret passage in this I think it's a museum, I don't remember, and you meet what is described as a goat man. And I don't remember if he's like a literal goat man or just a man who's goat like, but there's an illustration of him and he's like a goatee looking like a goat man, like a satyr, you know.
Hmm.
And it's creeped me out and scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I still think about this goat man as being like a very creepy, like being a kid alone in the dark as a goat man approaches you. Really freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
like the Scout
also,
Man. Yeah.
and then in my adult life, they have made 2 or 3 board games based on Choose Your Own Adventure books. So like whoever owns the rights to that series, they adapted a couple of them, and I have played these board games, which are sort of fun, like a couple times, but not really anything amazing, but kind of some
Mm.
nostalgia if you like those books. Another, and this also reminded me of reading this reminded me of books that I'm sure the same kind still exist today, which are not choose your own adventure books, but which you can kind of insert your child into. Do you know what I'm
Hmm.
talking about?
I'm not sure I do. No. What do you mean insert your child into?
So weirdly enough, I had another Aladdin anecdote for this one, which is when I was a kid, it was an actual like based on the Disney movie Aladdin, but it was like you are going on an adventure with Aladdin and the genie and Jasmine, and you're flying around. Except wherever it was from, whatever I think it was probably Disney. I don't know where my parents got it. You probably had to like call a number and send them a check in the mail or something to get it. But you would give them your kid's name. So the book actually was personalized and actually said like Jonathan went with Aladdin on an adventure and then he talked to his friends,
So
Michael and David.
so it'd be like there was a blank or something where the name was and you would write it in?
No, it was like
No.
printed. Like they told them in advance
Oh, you told them
and
in
it
advance.
came
What
back.
the fuck? That sounds like some hoity-toity shit. You're not gonna
Oh,
go like that's the
excuse
kind of thing
me.
you like go out to some fucking like to be like, I would like to place an order personalized for my child. You're not gonna go out to the bookstore and just pick that up. That sucks.
Yeah, of
I hate it.
course. I'm telling you, you had to do that. It's not
Yeah.
what you think it's like a like name tags at a
No,
gift
I
shop.
don't.
They have one for
I
every
This is
name
what
on
I
the
assumed.
shelf.
I assumed, right, that maybe it was something you could just buy and then you would personalize it. But no, it's not like oh, you
No,
have to
it's
go
better than
contact them
that.
specifically. No, that sucks.
Do you ever? This is what Will's childhood birthday parties were like. How come the cake just says happy birthday with a blank? Oh, what do you think? We're going to call in advance and customize our cake? We're
Oh,
blue
wait, wait, wait,
collar
wait, wait,
workers.
wait, wait. So your birthday cakes that you got as a child,
uh
you went out because it seems
Yeah.
like the assumption here is
Yeah.
that somebody else made your cake for you every time. Your parents never made the cake themselves.
Okay.
Right, because you would have to
Okay.
call in advance and tell them to write. Yeah, my
All
parents
right.
did write my name on my cake every year. You want to know why? Because they made it.
I see what you're. I see what you're doing. You're trying to get the audience on your side.
I'm not. I'm just telling
Yes.
the truth.
You're
I'm a
trying to
truth
paint
teller.
yourself as the underdog, as the everyman, and make
I'm
me out to be the elitist, the prick in my high castle, looking
I'm
down on
just
all the peons.
I would just rather go out to a bookstore and see a book that I like and get it. That's what I would rather do. Like calling into something sounds stupid. I don't want
You're
to do it.
so jealous. You're so jealous you didn't go on an
Am I?
adventure with Aladdin and I did.
I do find it very funny that your memories of Like, when you're thinking about, like, "Oh, my childhood anecdotes for Choose Your Own Adventures are, like, Aladdin and that sort of thing," whereas me, I'm like, "Yeah, the mad scientist or Lost in the Monster Hotel," because it was exclusively Goosebumps when I was doing it. It
Yeah, because you
feels,
were a
like,
little
very
creep.
different.
Yeah, you were like a little troll in a cave. Hmm, which goblins shall I encounter this eve?
Yeah. I actually do remember there was one Goosebumps thing where, like, you could get into I don't remember, but I remember one section that I really liked that I was in, where I was in some kind of, like, tunnels or hallways or something, and you could go through and I knew what book it was in, or at least I thought I did, and, like, I got to a part I really liked, and I died or something, and I tried to go back, and I could not figure it out, and I don't think I ever found it again, and in my head, I always imagine, like, "Oh, yeah, that's the secret part of the book, that it's not really there, but somehow I
Mm.
stumbled into it."
Well, there is as a kid, there is sort of a magic to these books that there is not as an adult.
Mhm,
um, you really feel like, wow, at least I did as a kid. Like I could read this book multiple times and who
mhm.
knows what'll happen. I don't know if I maybe missed a
Yeah.
passageway the first 8 times I read it. Who maybe I'll discover something completely new. uh
Yeah, that I mean, that's gonna be, some of that magic I think might also be the fault of this book and how it's constructed.
hmm.
Um, because I do think as a kid, with the other Choose Your Own Adventure books, I would say I don't remember ever feeling like I finished one, right? Like, I don't remember ever feeling like
Hmm.
I definitely did every path in this, I know that. Whereas with this one here, yeah, I'm convinced as a kid that I read every single path in this. I just read all of them. It was
It would be
easy.
hard not
It
to.
would be very hard not to. There's not enough jumping around. Like, as a kid, you just jump back and forth once and you're like, I could be anywhere. Who knows? You can't keep track of which pages are which. But that's not quite how this one is, laid out.
We were worried that, like, "Oh, how should we cover this book? Because it won't be chronological. Is it gonna be confusing? Should we, like, try to read it on air or something?" And there was no worry at all. It will be very, very comprehensible. Um, another one real quick, is that
Mhm,
there's also a series of, that's more modern, called Graphic Novel Adventures, which is a
mhm,
similar idea, but they're comic books and they're a little more gamey. Like some of them you actually have health points and you can like pick up items
mhm.
and stuff, and they're kind of cool. I have all of them.
I do remember 1 or 2, Choose Your Own Adventures where, like, you had to do something, like flip a coin rather than make a decision, and what you got on the coin was where you went. Or I actually remember
Yeah.
one where you had to do some, like, arithmetic problem, and then you, like, you just flipped to the page of, like, the answer you got or something like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
and if you got it wrong, you got fucked or whatever.
Yeah. And the reason I brought up the whole Aladdin thing was just because that was an example of, as I was reading this, of
Mhm,
feeling like as a kid, there's something special about thinking I'm a part of this now. I mean,
mhm.
what it is kind of like an isekai, right?
That is sort of like what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that the, like, you ever felt like me to me, where it was like, yeah, you're doing it, so you're in the book, but you do get that interactivity, that sense of, like, I am on a journey in this book, right? Like, I'm not following along with the story. I'm the one doing
Mhm.
it. I'm going through.
Well, there's definitely
Does that
some
distinction
wish
make sense?
fulfillment in this book of like,
Yes.
if I could meet Marco.
Hmm.
I mean, that was for
That's in
me.
there for sure.
Yeah. Should we start? Should we get into it? Is that enough preamble? Do we talk about CYOAs enough, as I call them?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like, we can definitely start, and we do need to start with the cover as we always do. But I will
Hmm.
say, normally with these books, I write out kind of like a fairly, like, okay, here's section one, section two we're going to talk about. And in my notes, I did kind of block out this book that way, and I kind of blocked it out for each choice. So like every time you have to make a choice, I put like a break so that was easy for me to see. I don't know when we get to it that we're going to actually stick with that format, because I don't know if that's gonna make sense or be worth doing, but maybe when we get there, we'll start that way and just see what happens.
I think it'll
Um,
work. I think it'll be
okay.
fine.
Okay, but to start off with, we do have to talk about the cover.
Yeah. The first journey. So
You
this cover.
have been chosen. You are the sixth Animorph. Are you ready? Says that on it.
It says Animorphs like in big, like the usual
Mhm.
title, and underneath a lot smaller Alternamorphs. It kind of seems like it just should be called Animorphs Alternamorphs, but everything refers to it just as Alternamorphs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Great. You have I don't. Well, the big picture here is a big lion face.
Yes, which so obviously, if you were listening to our last episode, I introduced this by saying that you turn into a lion because there's a lion on the cover. Now,
He ain't lying, folks.
well, spoilers.
Well, not yet.
Spoilers. You don't turn into a lion in this book.
Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
I find it very funny. Um,
Nobody
because that
does,
that
right?
seems to be, yeah, nobody turns into a lion. There are no lions in this book. It really feels like, we were talking earlier about this being a post-David book. Like like they're almost trying to bait you, right? Like you're the new Animorph, like David, remember? Ooh, are you a bad guy? See the lion? Remember David turned into a lion. And then that's just not what they did at all. It has nothing to do with that.
It's also it's just a big close up of a lion's face it's not like, oh well, we did the lion morph, so we already had it ready to go. We couldn't change the cover. Like this could be any animal. It wouldn't be hard to change that cover last minute if they wanted to, but they're like, nah, just keep it a lion. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean it's not we don't get our fun morphing progression or whatever. It is a shiny cover, right? It does, it
Okay.
does shine and reflect. It looks pretty cool in the light. But yeah, it's this big close up silvery like grayscale lion and it's made up of the Animorphs A. You know how they got that Animorphs font like little dots of that Animorphs A.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mosaic, would you call it?
Sure, I could call it that.
What it really looks like to me is a Game Boy printer photo. If that For anyone who knows about the Game Boy printer, you'll know what it looks like.
I'll second that. It looks like that.
Yeah, or almost, I guess, sort of like ASCII art almost. Not really, but similar
Yeah,
vibe.
or rather, it looks like that's what it should be in terms of like, oh, some of the A's are lighter and some are darker, and so that makes up the picture. But if you look closer, they're not uniform. Like the darkness and the lightness, whatever, that's like behind those A's. Some
It's
of the
like
A's are like half and half. They didn't just, it's not the right way to do it.
they just projected a like sketch of a lion in black and white on a bunch of A's. They're not actually related. And
Yeah,
then but there in one part it's not A's.
that's right. There's the hidden message.
Wow.
It
What's it
says,
say?
join us. And it's got thought
In
speak brackets.
Wow. And we will be joining them shortly.
It's pretty cool.
On the top, of course, above the title, you see all the Animorphs, including you in a
Mhm.
silhouette with, I guess, well, I mean, short hair, but I guess like Cassie has short hair, so it could be a gender neutral silhouette.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll say it's a gender neutral silhouette, but you are right. No long hair. This assumes you do not have long hair.
Yeah, and you also don't have ears like me.
Right. Yeah, or the other Animorphs actually. It feels like the other. Well, maybe that's wrong. I was going to say it feels like they have more ear bumps than your silhouette,
Hmm.
but I don't know if that's right.
Well, Axe certainly does.
Yeah. You
He
do
also has
have
eye
little
bumps.
you have little indents where your eyes and mouth should be. Like they're
You
very
do?
subtle. Yeah, it's super
Hmm.
subtle, but like if I hold it under the light, I can see it.
It is very funny seeing just the torso of the Animorphs looking straight ahead, and one of them is Tobias. And it doesn't look like a normal. It looks like that's too much torso for a hawk, or like his shoulders are too broad. Or maybe it's just because he's next to and like made the same
Yeah.
size as human children.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before on some other cover where they did something like this. Tobias, the birds look ridiculous if you make them the same like height as a human. The
and
proportions are so weird.
and facing straight forward, like I think his head would be
Yeah.
narrower. Like it doesn't. You wouldn't. Just looks like a more like a human body with a bird face or something.
Yeah.
I don't
In
know.
fact, I am positive that all of these arts were used before, that these are not unique to this
Hmm.
book. They pulled these from some other cover.
I
Maybe a
definitely remember the
Megamorphs.
Rachel one. The rest I would believe, but I mean Axe looks like that all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'd bet this
um,
is from a Megamorphs.
yeah. The first journey. How about that title?
Pretty ambitious, because we're already assuming there might be another one.
That's right.
We
Now,
don't even know.
is this the only? All the other Animorphs books are just one word. The blank. This is the blank blank.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's the
Oh.
standard is the whatever. So this is kind of setting a different precedent. Alternamorphs gets
Hmm.
2 words post the.
Wow. Wow. I'm feeling it already.
You're feeling it, huh?
Okay, I'm done with this
Yeah, I was gonna say you might not be
cover.
feeling this. There's no inner cover, no
The
dots.
fuck?
Don't get any of that.
You fucking kidding me?
I know it sucks.
How about the back of the book though?
Back of the book looks pretty standard. It's got the same "we can't tell you who we are" blah 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 thing at the top, but it does have in bold text at the bottom of the summary, "Are you ready to be an Animorph?"
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm pretty. It's honestly, actually, this back's kind of boring. It's got this beige background that is really ugly to me.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
I mean, do you like it? Can you
I
see
think it's
it?
great.
Oh,
Yeah, I love
okay.
it.
Maybe I'm just put off by the lack of dots. I need some dots.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no dots on anywhere except for there's 3 in the little blurb on the back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
That's but those are always those don't count. Like if the bolded thing said like, "Are you ready to be an Animorph?" Dot 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 question mark or something, but
yeah, yeah. That'd be cool.
it would be kind of cool.
All right.
All right.
So you want to start telling people what happens
All
to
right.
us in this book?
Yeah. So what's going to be happening to us? I guess I'll just start off at the intro and go up to the first point at which you get a choice. Um so this story is going to follow the initial story of the Animorphs in book 1, The Invasion. Um so, you remember they're going through the construction site like they always do. Only this time, the Animorphs are going to the construction site, but you're not friends with the Animorphs yet. You don't know them. You are biking around in the construction site cuz you're an off-road cycling freak. And you made a little track for yourself there even though your parents told you not to do that. Um and but then Elfangor lands. Remember how he did that in the invasion, and you see him too, and he like calls you over, and Visser 3 eats him, and you have to run away. Blah blah blah. That whole scene happens. And in the invasion, I think this is like 10 chapters, but here it's 2. Uh, so then it's the next day at home. We learn that we have a little sister named Lexi, and it's her birthday today. So, there's like a party, we're gonna have to babysit or whatever. Marco shows up at our house and he's like, "Hey, all those chapters in the invasion where like Jake morphed Homer and Tobias morphed Dude and Cassie morphed. Yeah, that all happened off screen. You weren't there. You missed it. It sucks to suck, but you better watch out because your family might be controllers. Because like Tom's a controller too. So you're like, oh, I should turn into an animal so I can spy on my sister's birthday party and see if my mom's a controller because she's been acting weird. And we have to choose if we want to try a fly or Lexi's hamster Hamlet or our weird next door neighbor's ferret."
By the way, every choice is just what do you want to morph into?
Yes, I thought that was very funny. There are a couple points in this book where I have notes that basically say, like, oh, this is an interesting decision. Wouldn't it be nice if I could make it? But unfortunately, those decisions are about what you should do and not, what you should turn into. And you only get the choice to turn into stuff.
Yeah. That's all you're able to handle. Well, you're not Jake. You're no leader.
That's true. Yeah, you're not a leader.
This is what it's like to be all the other Animorphs. You just got to do what you're told. I don't know. Should I be a rat or a ferret, I guess? Christ. Even though the bulk of this opening here is a retelling of a scene we are familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
I I kind of have a lot of points of interest that I found in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just in, I don't know, various things about what's the same, what's different, how they handle it, how they talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have a lot about the opening scene, actually.
Okay. I'm happy to hear it.
Okay. Well, right off the bat, I got to do my, my annoying thing that I like to do, which is, yeah.
Oh yeah, because you got to talk about this other thing that I kind of skipped over.
Yeah, the
Which
introduction.
The introduction. Yeah, I skipped right to the beginning. There's an introduction written by Jake telling us that we're gonna join the book.
Yes.
I
So,
forgot about that. Yeah. No, I do
yeah.
have that in here.
Yeah. So, he says, "Hey, listen up. It's Jake. You probably already know what's going on." And he gives you like the summary of Animorphs. But he's like, "No, this isn't a joke. It's real. About as real as you can get. Real enough for screaming nightmares about the things you've seen and done." You're like, "Oh man, this is crazy. It's real. This is going to give me nightmares. Holy shit." Right out the gate, this is real shit. And then he's like, "So if you can handle it, turn to the first page." Now wait a minute. What reality? How am I expected to understand what's happening here? This is real, you guys. This isn't a game. This is real. Now turn the page. What? Why? This is like Metal Gear Solid when he's like, "Put your controller into slot 2." Like, wait a is it a book or is it real? You
I mean,
can't say it's both.
that is a little Drody. Maybe the book is real because he's the Drode secretly in disguise, you know?
It really, there is no way, like with the conceit of the Animorphs books, that it's all real and a secret. There's no way to maintain that for a choose your own adventure book. It just instantly makes no sense.
Yeah, so one thing that I did find interesting in this introduction, there's a bit where Jake says, "We tried this once before and it didn't work out. We're gonna try
Right.
again." And I have to wonder, is the implication here that the main Animorph series is one route in a choose your own adventure novel with Jake as the protagonist, and they didn't like the ending they got, so they're starting again?
Yeah, or it's, I don't know, he's like, "Oh, the Elemist or the Time Matrix, we got to go back and give it a see what would happen," or something. Like
Yeah,
that
I
should have been the setup for this book. It should have been, you found the Time Matrix. That's why
right.
you have the power to do this.
And it does
Like,
kind of go off the rails and deal with that kind of thing, but it doesn't explain the book
mhm.
itself, and it doesn't have a time matrix, and it doesn't have an elemist. And those both were in existence by this point, for sure.
Yeah, so but instead they're just like, it's a book, it's real, but it's a book. Just like, it's fine that it's a book. I understand obviously this is fictional, but it feels very contradictory to and jarring to immediately say, "This is real." Turn the page. I just, like, you didn't have to do that. You could have just,
Yeah.
you didn't have to make that happen in my brain. There's a subtler way to go about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do get that, and I think that does make more sense here than, sometimes I'm like, okay, that's a little much that you're complaining about. But here, yes, they do dedicate like an entire introduction to having Jake tell you, like, try to make the idea of a choose your own adventure work in universe. Which, like, if you're buying this, you know what this is, right? Like, you're here because like, you're not being like, "Oh, a new Animorphs book. What is this? I don't understand." Like, you know what Alternamorphs when you're a kid. You're picking this up to do the thing where you're an Animorph. Uh, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, and I don't remember other choose your own adventure books. Like, maybe they would have like a page at the beginning that would be like, "Don't read this like a normal book," but those are
Mhm.
never supposed to be like in the story. Right.
Right.
We don't have Jake telling you, just remember not to read this adventure like a normal book.
Right. It's ridiculous. By the way, I think this is maybe the only interaction you have with Jake in the whole book.
It is quite possible. Or no,
Okay.
you get some toward the end. But so I mean, this is also a point that you're bringing up
Mhm.
about the section that I also talked about this beginning is that at this point, and this kind of continues for quite a bit of the book. Um, the plot, this is supposed to be the invasion, but you were there as part of the Animorphs. And so far, what it is the invasion is happening. It's happening exactly the same way as it did, but you're also able to morph in the background, and occasionally you might come in and touch base with the Animorphs to be like, yep, that's where we are in the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's um it's a little strange.
Yeah, like it's
The
kind of weird that like Tobias doesn't come to you to tell you he can morph, or like maybe you figured it out and you went to Jake. No, Marco shows up and says, "We already did all that. That's already done."
right. Right. It's yes, it is very confusing exactly what is the same as the original book and what's different. Like it almost feels like this is supposed to be canon in that like you don't actually affect anything that happens. Like you don't actually get to change the story. You're just kind of also there.
Yeah, like I don't. In fact, yeah, I don't think anything happens in this book that doesn't happen in the initial series, except for characters talking to you and you being there.
Which maybe that's what kids wanted. Well, actually, here's I didn't even ask you this. This should have been first off. Did you read these when you were a kid?
I did, yeah.
You did. So you have read these before, and are they part of your series reread when you go through it again?
No, they aren't. So I haven't really reread them since I was a kid, and I don't really have very vivid memories of them, so I must not have read them many times.
Well, that's good. So you couldn't cheat. You didn't know all the good choices.
Right. That's true. I couldn't cheat.
Anyway, we'll get into the structure and all these things as we go, but
Mhm.
I want to talk about the specifics of this, the construction site, all this. I mean, I also it's been a while since we've read the invasion. I'll probably just say some things that I said when we read that too, like how long has this construction site been around that all the kids are just constantly being warned about going there of how
Mm.
dangerous it is.
Mm.
It's just weird that that's a thing, like, like don't go through the spooky forest. Like they treat it as if it's a permanent fixture. Like, there's always the mall and the construction site. Like it's what's it being built into? What are they using it for? It's just where the
Yeah.
construction is.
I mean, I have 2 points to that. One is that because these kids are like 13, the construction could have been there for like 6 months, and they'd been like, yeah, that's just the
Mhm.
construction site. It's been like that for like the whole
Okay.
time I've been in this grade. And two is that you live in a real state where they finish construction, and not a state where there was a
Oh.
major road next to me that was under construction from when I was 14 to when I came back to visit my family at 24. It was still under construction. It had not stopped.
I mean, listen, I think New Jersey has its share of roads that are under construction for eternity as well. But a road to me or a highway is different from like just a a,
Yeah.
a vacant lot or whatever this
I,
is.
I do think Pennsylvania is like pretty uniquely bad about just not actually finishing that shit.
Well, guess what? They're in
But
California,
still.
motherfucker.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe I don't know. Is California a real state about construction, or do they just leave shit undone?
Why things got finished when you know who was in charge.
The governor?
That's right. The governor. I'll
uh,
be back to finish constructing this mall.
that's not very good, Arnold.
Come with me if you want to build a new apartment complex.
What nationality is he supposed to be?
Hasta la vista construction site because it's finished now.
He sounds kind of like an Arabic guy who moved to Germany, has been living there the last like 10 years and picked up half of that accent.
That's what I was going for.
Okay, okay.
That's how good at accents I am. I also, I related to this book really early on because I'm into mountain biking.
Right, of course, yeah. Immediately on the first page, they're like, "You're a cycling freak," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's me all the way."
It is funny that that's what they're like. That's universal. Every kid who picks us up in '99 loves mountain biking. Like what? What the fuck? Why is that the choice? Not even like skateboarding would be the more obvious kind of like cool choice, but
Yeah,
biking, I
or
don't know.
even just biking, right? Like they could have just been like, you like
Yeah.
being on your bike, you know? You want to be at the
Right.
X Games on your bike. It really is. It's an off-road cycling freak is what they call you.
Very strange. I was also sort of a little bit confused. I did not like the very early on, like right on the first page, there's a little switch where it's jumps to your perspective, and it's like imagining telling your mom about this and says, "Just wait, mom, have I got a story for you? Only I can never ever tell you." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, but this is a second we're doing use, and now all of a sudden without any warning it's an I." And I understand it's like a break for your thoughts, but I thought it was jarring. I didn't like that they just threw that in there without any kind of a there aren't like brackets around it or anything. It's just like right there in the middle of the page. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is kind of weird as an inconsistent thing. And it's also kind of weird because it really, the whole point of these stories is that you're supposed to be going on a journey, right? Like this is happening as it's happening, right? Like in the Animorphs books, you can kind of imagine that they're telling it after the fact, but the whole point of you making the decisions as you go is that it's happening as you go. And at that point, nothing has happened yet. Like, what's the story you've got for your mom? It didn't happen yet. We're not there. That's the story you
Well,
have when you're
yeah,
done with the
right.
book.
Yeah, that's it's like you know more than you do.
Yeah, it's odd. And also, by you mean I, because they switched perspective. It is a
We're an
jarring
hour.
line. I didn't like it.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone in this. Just wanted to say we're an hour into the podcast and we're still on page 3.
I told you we would make it. It's gonna be fine. We didn't need to waste
um,
so much time.
I think it was necessary. There's a band of homeless men who live in the construction site. I feel like that's new lore.
I think that was actually there, but I'm not
Okay.
positive. I'd have to go
Okay.
check.
um, we do get so as you said, we don't know the Animorphs
Hmm.
really.
Except for Marco, who I think we might
We
have a crush on.
Yeah, we know Marco because he sits next to us in science, and we're getting a C in science because he makes jokes to us under his breath during class.
Yeah, we just can't concentrate with him so close.
I'm like, I can't. This sounds ungrateful. I would happily take an F if it meant I got a first front row seat to Marco jokes every day. Are you kidding me?
Well, just imagine that you're like a kid. You're like 13, and you're like, ah, that Marco. He's always cracking jokes, and now I have a C. But secretly you're all like, Marco. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a thing for him.
What is it?
I can't say it on air.
Okay.
It's like when Axe is all distracted by the lady Andalites in his class.
It is a lot like that.
So okay, I'm trying to move through the scene. I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. You can tell me if you want me to not do that, but
Yeah, I mean, I just have like detail things, so it's probably about the same as you, honestly.
yeah, I mean the blue light. I don't remember if this was a thing,
Could have been, I don't know. That's just like a UFO thing
but
when
it's a
the ship.
blue. Yeah, it's Elfangor's ship, but it's a blue that is almost white, and yet it registers as more blue than any blue I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't recall that. It is an odd detail.
I guess it's very color out of space sort of, right?
Mm.
It's like this can't be described. It's this insane color, which I mean, it was just confusing the way it was written, but on paper, which it is,
Yeah,
it's kind of a good idea.
there are certainly some passages or details in here that kind of, I don't know, like it's hard to tell because I wish I could blame the ghostwriter. I wish I knew who it was. because so much of this first chunk is gonna be like the main story is the invasion, and so it's like, okay, you're in the construction site, I just have to retell this scene. But every once in a while, you will get a detail that you wonder, like, is that them trying to put their own thing in there? Is that something I forgot from the invasion? Is that them just not understanding how something works? So, like, that's one example you have. There's another example here where they describe, taxons as looking spidery,
Yes.
and I think later on they describe them as being like spiders too, which just has like, was that their interpretation of it, or did they just read like they look like centipedes? What's that? I don't know. They got a lot of legs, right? Like spiders. Centipede, spider. It looks the same, right? They're
This is
spidery.
another reason that I thought this book came out much earlier than it did, because it feels like the kind of thing that you write when you don't really know what things are because it's not been established yet.
Yeah, but
But they've
even in
never,
book
but
one,
taxons
it
were
just
never, yeah, they've never
yeah,
been described as spider-like at all.
very strange.
I mean, there's a couple other things like that. Like a hork-bajir also bounds like a kangaroo.
Hmm.
I like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, it hops, it bounces? I don't.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a hork-bajir
Is it
doing that.
is it just like a failed simile? I don't know.
I guess, yeah, it's just like running real fast is what that means.
Yeah,
Um,
strange.
a couple other things like that either were different or were just like, oh, that feels like a detail that maybe seemed like it was going somewhere but didn't. They referred to Elfangor as the last Andalite
Oh,
somewhere in
did
here.
they? I don't even remember that. I must have
It was,
missed that.
yes, it says when you're talking to him with the Animorphs, it says he is the last Andalite. He tells you it may take a year before the rest of them return. So I guess it just means like the last one around.
Yeah, I mean, he should have thought he was the last one on the dome ship, but that is a strange way to phrase it. That implies the other ones are maybe coming back from the dead.
Yes, it's very odd. They don't mention his torso. I noticed, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of the torso theory.
If you don't know what we're talking about, maybe you're either not on the Reddit or you haven't listened to our Patreon.
Only $5 a month.
And also, like, there's just little things I remembered. For example, they talk about Elfangor's warmth, which was a thing in the first book and maybe even later that was like, oh, there's almost like a psychic energy. When you
Hmm.
talk to Elfangor, it's like you can just tell that he's a good person who means good things, which felt at the time to me like it was this, oh, Andalites have some kind of an essence they give off that's comforting and nice, but that just never really came up
Yeah, that was
again.
something that was kind of pretty heavily there in the first book and never since, except that Visser 3 gave off this evil vibe and he never
Yeah.
stopped doing that. But the everything they forgot about the other half of that.
And same thing with I know we talked about this on the show, but Tobias has a little talk with Elfangor, and it happens here too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
And
not yeah, it's interesting because they say that here, but it's not relevant to this book. So you could have just had you not notice that and not bother with it, but I guess that happened in the first book, so it's a detail we remember.
it's a
Um
thing they just took, yeah.
it is kind of interesting thinking about this because this in a way this is like the first time you've reread the first book in a way.
Right. Yes, it
Like you
is.
haven't revisited this scene except in exposition.
It's kind of interesting that way too in when that we're about to do the TV show, which will re-explore those things. So
Yeah.
we're really going back to the past.
Hopefully a little bit better than this.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I will say this. I do think, especially maybe as in some of the later parts, it's not quite this bad. But in these first couple of chapters where they're just trying to like push you through the Animorphs, I was reading this and just thinking like, man, this is not good. Um, like we keep plugging the Patreon. We just wrote fanfics for it, so I just wrote some short stories and like, it's like I'm trying to write and I'm like, man, this is it's hard to actually write something and get it out there, and I'm not necessarily gonna, like, knock the prose of some of these books because like, it's hard to make it work, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, "Man, I coulda done this." That this some of these passages read like, a 5th grader's description of the scene for their book report. Like,
Yeah.
they're not good.
Yeah, it's really bad, and it's you think of Animorphs in general, it's not like we've said it before, it ain't Shakespeare. It ain't like the greatest prose you'll ever read or anything. But compared you if you read the invasion like or at least
Mhm.
even just that opening scene back to back with this,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
night and day how it's just like the bare bones of that scene, but they like stripped away anything that is interesting or emotional or like a good detail. It's just like you said, it's a book report. It's here's what happens and you're there.
Yeah. There's a bit here where that I laughed at because they're talking about Elfangor kind of whatever, talking about the situation, and it says, "Then he tells you about the Yerks." Just like that's one sentence. And then there's like two or three sentences, and it's literally like one paragraph, maybe four sentences at most, that is like the entirety of the exposition. It's less exposition than you would get about this scene in like book 20 or something where they're trying to tell you what happened in this scene. In the
Yeah.
actual book it's like that was like at least a chapter.
Can you imagine if this was your first exposure to Animorphs? Like you wouldn't know what the fuck was going on because it's so abridged. It's just
Yeah,
what
and
is this?
it's like we that was one thing we said when we did review the invasion is if we were just like it is insane how many new ideas are coming out here so fucking fast in this book. And yeah, in this book it's like, listen, I guess we're getting the same ideas out here, but we're really not going to talk about any of them, but they are all here, I guess. Like you definitely need to. This is not a first book. This is a book you pick up because you want to do the
Yeah.
CYOA.
Because you won't. Why would you give a shit about? You wouldn't even remember who Rachel is or Cassie
Right.
reading this. You're like, what? So Marco's in my kitchen. Okay, who? I
Do
don't.
they
What?
characterize any of them? Like it's just like
A
Marco, they say,
little.
"Oh, Marco cracked jokes." Oh, okay. And then
They do say Rachel is like bloodthirsty and angry.
okay. But did they describe Tobias or Cassie at all at any
I
point?
I don't think so. Nor Axe really.
Yeah, which, you
Nor
might say, how
Jake.
is Axe going to come into this? Because we're talking about book one, he didn't show up till book four. Well, something's going to happen.
Right. Well, anyway, so then the next day
Mm.
you like sleep through like Marco just comes in and is
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we turned into a dog and a cat. It was wild." A lot of fun. You should have been there, man. Almost this makes me feel like I have had dreams. It feels like one of those dreams where like you know, everyone has a version of this. Like, oh, you missed. You have a class you're supposed to go to, and it turns out you missed every day of the class, and you have a test today. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, of
Or
course.
I have ones where it was, it's like I used to be in plays in high school, and I'll actually haven't had them for a while. I think my trauma's passed me, but I used to have dreams where it was like, oh my god, I don't know any of my lines, and it's opening night, and I'm supposed to like be in the show or whatever. And that's what reading this is almost like anti wish fulfillment because it's like you're an Animorph. Oh no, but I missed all the Animorph stuff. I didn't learn how to morph. They did all the fun stuff without me. Am I even part of the group? Do they even like me? I don't know. Is this real? Maybe it's not real. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was just making it up because you don't actually get to do like the Animorph shit they do.
Yeah.
You just do your own shit while they're doing it.
Yeah, no, you do your own story off on the side. They're really not there.
So it is nice that Marco's in your kitchen and look,
Yeah.
Marco is funny.
Yeah, I mean that is something I did notice. They did get Marco right. Like he shows up, he says, "Oh, you don't have to bow. A simple Lord Marco will do." He's a funny guy.
That's very funny. It also is kind of funny that in the choose your own adventure book that's geared towards you specifically, and should be like every kid can feel like they're in this narrator's shoes. They give you a specific little sister named Lexi. It's like another, like, even more than mountain biking, immediately
Yeah.
only child or anyone with a brother or anything. It's just cuts out like 60% of your audience from identifying with this character.
Right. And it's weird because I do like I got that immediately upon reading that. I was like, I don't have a little sister named Lexi. What the hell are you talking about? But it's interesting because I don't remember ever having that reaction to like other choose your own adventure books because they would make up other characters or friends or whatever. Um
Mhm.
so I don't know if I had that
Yeah.
reaction when I read this one or not, but it's possible I did. And if I did, then I don't really know what the difference was.
I mean, there's not really a way around that. Other like,
Yeah.
I guess just being an only child feels like a safe way to go, because then it's kind of easy to just imagine that as opposed to imagining a brother or sister. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true. You can just be all like, yeah, for maybe I have a brother or sister, but I don't interact with them. I'm not hanging out with them today for this book, or as opposed to
Yeah.
being like, oh, I have this brother or sister now. I don't know what that's like.
It's funny. I just realized that we had an argument about a birthday cake, and that's the crux of this. That didn't even occur to me.
Wow. We're
Because
on the ball here.
that's how you know your mom is a controller, maybe,
Hmm.
is because she wants to buy a cake instead of making it.
That's true. I totally forgot that that's what happened here.
Yeah, that's what this is.
That is what happens. Yeah, you're like, yeah, yeah, my mom might be a controller. She always makes a cake. Why would she buy?
What a
That's
ridiculous
really funny.
what a tip off.
Well, see, that's how it's because your parents, I hate to be the one to
Mhm.
tell you this, Jonathan, but your
Yeah.
parents were Yorks, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. 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 I don't want my
Alright.
mom to make me a fucking cake. You know why?
Why?
Because I'm a feminist, and I think she should be earning money to support her family.
Yeah, sure, okay, yeah. That
Yes, and supporting the local economy by purchasing a cake at a mom and pop store and helping the community, and bettering her children by example. Saying you
well,
don't have to be a housewife when you grow up, setting an example for them, unlike you.
maybe it should just be a pop store, right? If a mom is in there baking a cake, is that actually better?
You're right. You're right. I apologize.
I feel like we've milked all we're gonna get out of this first section.
Yeah, I think it's time to make a choice.
Yeah, so as you recall, we want to spy on our birthday party because maybe our mom acts like a controller at the birthday party and we want to practice morphing. To be honest, I'm not sure I follow the logic for why we have to morph for this birthday party. But we're
Right.
gonna do it.
Right. It's like you could just be there because it is your house.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, then you couldn't eavesdrop. I mean, you
I,
could, but
you could, yeah. Well, we
yeah.
either get to be a fly or a hamster or our next door neighbor's ferret. Um Why don't I just spell out the wrong choices here first?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you turn into a fly, you get like swatted at and then you die in a bug zapper. And if you turn into a hamster, then you get eaten by your weird neighbor's cat, Gingerbread. So you were supposed to turn into Ms. Humphries' ferret, is what you needed to do in order to survive here.
Now, I assume if you're an Animorphs reader, you're like me, you looked at this and thought, well, fly is the obvious correct choice.
Hmm.
That's the best surveillance. You're small, you won't be noticed, you can fly away from danger. Hamster and ferret both, by the way, are like basically the same thing, first of
Yeah,
all.
that is really the issue here because, like, I'm reading it as a choose your own adventure thing, and immediately the thought is, well, if you go fly, you're going to get swatted because they're going to be mean to
Hmm.
you and swat you. But yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know how to. What's the differentiation on hamster and ferret? It is like,
Like why would a cat not eat a ferret? I mean, I guess a hamster's
Yeah.
more like a mouse, like a rodent, but
Yeah, or like maybe you might think I want to do the hamster because it's my sister's and it belongs here. I don't want to do the ferret because then I have to like grab it off the weird lady. I don't know.
yeah, there's
It's
no logic.
Yeah, there's no logic. And again, it's not like you're making a choice of like what action to take. You're only choosing what to morph into. So you just have to pick the best morph and then they offer you a fucking hamster and a ferret, which is what's
Are you ready to
the
be an
most.
animorph? All your dreams will come true. You want to be a hamster or a ferret?
I mean, that is a point that we brought up before is just how much, you get this concept of kids can turn into animals. You can be any animal you want, and then so much of the series is we need to be a different bug this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's realistic in that way. I mean, we are getting some new morphs. I don't think there's ever been a hamster or ferret in the series.
No, I don't think there has been. Um,
That's cool.
yeah, and so this also, before I get into the ferret, I guess this is kind of. I feel like we need to stop and talk for a little bit about the choices in this book.
Yeah.
Because if you go from here, it's like, you're on what is it, chapter 3,
You're on page
and
10.
yeah, and it's like, okay, pick an animal. If you want to turn into a fly, go to chapter 4, and then you die at the end of that chapter. If you want to turn into a hamster, go to chapter 5, and then you die. If you want to turn into a ferret, go to chapter 6, and then you get to keep reading. So it's almost like you can just keep reading through all the wrong choices until you hit the right one. And
Mhm.
the order isn't always the same for all the choices, but up until like one of the very last choices, the wrong and right chapters are all just immediately after where you flipped from. So you can just read through and be like, all right, this is the story that I'm on. You're not doing the thing where you're like, flip to page, I'm on page 15, flip to page 98, flip to page 32, 50, you know what I mean? And as
Yes.
a kid, that's the thing that gets you to lose your place. That's the thing that makes you think like, boy, I don't even know where I am in this book. Who knows if there's more left or if it's hiding from me? Whereas here you're like, I've read every page up until this point. I know that.
Yeah, it's a very boring linear
Yeah.
way to do it. Yeah, it's unlike any other choose your own adventure book I've read, which, as you said, they're much more sprawling. They feel like, oh, who knows? I got to go all the way. That's even part of the fun is like, oh,
Yeah.
I got to find this page. Okay. I mean, it can be tedious too. I guess that's a point in this book's favor is it's like, well, you get through it quick, you figure it out, you just keep going. The book is not, I don't know what it is in physical form. I'm reading a PDF that's 60 pages. Is that accurate to the
There are 115 pages in this book.
Oh, okay. So this is a totally different format I'm reading, I guess.
Okay.
So maybe my page numbers I've been saying are not accurate, but yeah, it feels pretty brief. And even making every choice, even reading every book, I don't know. Like as a kid, in most of these books, I would think, oh, you have your own adventure, your own journey, and then it ends. And there might be different endings and different paths, but in this one, there's really just one ending and then a lot of deaths.
Yeah,
There's
because
all
that is
that's
the
it.
other thing is that at no point do you ever make a choice and then survive for a while and then die unless it's like if you survive for more than one more chapter, it was the right choice, right? You always, if it's wrong, die immediately.
Yeah, yeah. There's, I mean, like you can tell reading. There's one at the end that's like, I think it's the final choice is, well, for this one, there's like 10 pages after that, and for the other two choices, there's only one page.
Yeah.
Like, well, which one do I think is going to lead me to the right choice? I wonder.
Right. I bet you could just figure it out most of it by looking at the page counts of what you're going to be in.
Yeah, I mean this one right here, it's like
Yeah.
the fly and the hamster are just right there. And then but I mean at this point I didn't know, oh, that could
Right.
lead to another choice, but they don't. Um
Yeah.
there's also, and all of them are deaths too. All the bad endings, it's not like,
Yeah.
that didn't work. You always die.
Well, there's one where you become a Nothlet.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. We'll have to get to that. But it is pretty dark. I know Animorphs is dark, but it also kind of makes you think, gee, how come all these Animorphs must be just lucky as hell? Because it seems like death is around every corner as an animal.
Yeah,
and
like
they're
if I wanted to give this book a lot of credit, I would say that's kind of what it's trying to do, right? Like it's trying to give you this idea that like, man, you got to be very careful because one wrong move and bam, you're dead immediately, right? No second chances, no nothing. Um, yeah, I don't
Mhm.
know. I remember on some of the choose your own adventure books, like the Goosebumps, right? There might be multiple like good endings, but then they had these like the hardcore ones, and it would say there's only one way out. It's like the ultimate one or something.
Wow.
And I wonder if this is supposed to be like that.
Only one way out. In other words, it sucks. Don't read this one.
Yeah, this one. I mean, in many ways,
Just
this
read
is
a
just
book.
yeah, like a linear story. It
That's
just
what it should
has
say on every Animorphs book. There's only one way out. Choose to read to the end in the order we put the pages.
right. Yeah, I mean that basically is you could just take in many ways it feels like this book is just a much shorter version that has a bunch of dead end stories that are in there for no reason.
In fact, in this section in particular, it even felt like they expected me to read these in the order I read them. Because I read the Fly one first. This
Mhm.
was just like literally the order that they
Yeah.
give you the choices. And that's where you first, if you read that first, presumably, you discover that the reason your mom bought a cake is because your sister specifically requested she buy one instead of baking her own, which is funny. Like, damn, your mom, I guess, sucks at making cakes.
We find out later that she wanted an ice cream cake, which I guess she can't make an ice cream cake.
I guess,
Yeah,
but
right.
then they don't mention that in the hamster one. I don't even know if maybe they say the ice cream thing, but it feels like they think you're gonna know that info, almost like you are playing your character is like a Groundhog Day sort of a thing,
Yeah.
and you like retain those memories.
Yeah, there are absolutely points later in the book where I have notes about that. Like, oh, big long description of this scene in this chapter, and then in this later chapter where you're doing it from a different perspective, no description. Because we assume you already read the other one.
Right. Yeah, which is that's not how you should be writing this.
Yeah. No, I don't yeah, it's weird.
How
It's not
about
great.
Ms. Humphries though?
Yeah, okay, so if you turn into Ms. Humphries' ferret, so then you break into her house to acquire and morph the ferret, and then she comes home. And so in this one, you don't even go to spy on the party thing because you only go to the party if you're in the bad chapters. Because it turns out Ms. Humphries is a controller. She throws you into her handbag and takes you off to the sharing. Um, and once you're at the sharing, if you remember in the invasion, there's a whole scene where the Animorphs were like, we should go. Jake's like, Tom's not a control. Well, let's just check out this sharing thing that Tom's trying to get you to because, blah, blah, blah. All right, we'll see. So you show up at that same meeting and the Animorphs are there to rescue you. Um, and, uh, and then I guess you all go home but you decide that you're going to go to the gardens because you need some combat morphs, and we get to the part where they split up to avoid security, which did happen, and then we get to decide what we want to morph to get away from them. Um,
Yeah.
Now, first of all,
Mhm.
Phoebe morphs.
Yeah, they refer to who says it? Do you say it or does someone
Yeah,
else say it?
you say it, and then Rachel repeats it. You're all like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember what you say, but you're like, I don't. We are not going to fight the Yerks with these Phoebe morphs
Yeah,
or
you
something.
say dogs and cats and ferrets. What a bunch of phoebe morphs. Rachel likes it though. She
Yeah.
says you got a point. I feel like Rachel's into us.
Yeah, I think there's another scene in here where I think maybe that might be part of it.
Yeah, this is I don't know. I don't believe this has ever been slang at
Yeah,
any point.
don't know what the. I mean, I know what it is. I just don't know why they did it.
Were they trying to do like a Joss Whedon? Like, we're gonna invent the new, like Clueless. Oh, as if. That's so Phoebe. Was that what they were going for? They
I
thought this will be so cool. Kids are gonna love this.
It's like, we need to put some kids slang in there. Have you ever talked to a child? No, have you? Well, just make something up.
That's Phoebe as hell, dude. Um, yeah, it's pretty funny. Also, Cassie fucking slams our morphing skills.
Hmm. I don't even. What did she say?
We turn into a ferret, or no, we morph out of a ferret, and she
Yeah.
goes, "Ew, that's the worst morph I've seen so far."
Maybe she just hates ferrets.
Well, no, well then we say, Sorry, I haven't had much practice."
Hmm.
So I think she was like half ferret, half you. She was like, "You look like shit, dude."
Well, at this point, she doesn't realize it's hard for everyone else. She makes it look good. Everybody
Yeah.
else sucks. I did notice, actually,
You know what the difference is
no
between you and me?
no mention of morphing outfits here. Like in the first book, there's a
Mm.
lot of chapters about like, oh no, we're naked, and here they were just like, fuck that, we're not doing it. Not in this book. Not worth it. Fuck off.
Yeah, too much going on. We don't have time for that.
Yeah. Also, honestly, probably shouldn't have done it in the first place. It didn't
Yeah,
add much.
yeah. That should have been the choice. Do you wear a leotard or some shorts?
And then the however you like the way in which you show off your bod determines on whether you get with Rachel or Marco in the end.
Come on. They're children. Before we move past Ms. Humphries, I do want to say another small point in this book's favor. I do think it is interesting that you get to, as a ferret, hide and you kind of see what Ms. Humphries is up to for a minute, which is
Hmm.
basically just like sitting on the couch and talking on the phone to a controller or something. But you almost never in Animorphs see a controller not either with the Yerks or putting on an act for their family. Like, she just lives alone. So it's kind of an interesting window into what does a controller just do when they're
Hmm.
sitting in their fake house. We don't actually spend much time with it or do anything interesting with it, but that was something that I kind of appreciated.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
I feel that. Like, honestly, some of the parts of this book are not all that bad. If you just are looking at the chapters that like you're quote unquote supposed to read.
it's not like, oh, this is so bad I can't read it. It's just bland.
Hmm.
It just kind of is. If it feels like AI wrote it.
I actually have a note here. Because there's a bit where you morph into a fly. We talked about the fly,
We did
and
that,
you're
yeah.
you're buzzing around, and you see a spider, and you're like,
Mm,
"Oh boy, a juicy spider! I want to eat that spider."
I was gonna say this.
And it's
Yes.
like, and I have a note. I was like, did an AI write this and get confused? Like they know the
Yes.
spider and fly. One of them definitely eats the other. I accidentally flipped around the sentence construction. That's really how it comes off to me.
That was so confusing. I was like, do I not know? Do flies eat spiders? Maybe I don't know. Maybe they
Yeah,
do.
like at first I was like, maybe you didn't morph a fly. Maybe you morphed some kind of weird dragonfly thing that is a bug type that I don't know about. And no, that's way too creative for this. I don't. They just fucked up and forgot that spiders eat flies.
I know somebody eats something.
Right. Yeah.
Let the kids sort it out.
I mean, in the invasion, Jake ate a spider as a
Yuck.
lizard. So like,
Ugh.
you gotta be freaked out by wanting to eat a spider too. I don't know why they chose a fly to do that. I don't know.
How about the gardens?
Yeah, so I mean this scene is just from the books again, right? This is the scene where they go into all the habitats and Marco gets a big gym or whatever, and then they
Hell
have to run
yeah.
through the hallway because security sees them. So this is kind of the same.
Hmm. Yeah, but now you get to get your pick of morphs, and what do you end up with? A giraffe and a hyena.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. So like while you're running from security, it's kind of like Jake and Marco ran from security and went into the tiger exhibit, and that's how Jake got a tiger. Only you do this with both a giraffe and a hyena. So you get when you get caught by security and you like get handed over to the police, it's like, well, you could turn into a hyena to get away, or a giraffe, or you could just say, "Fuck those morphs! I'm gonna get one of these police dogs too."
You would never think of using a fly again because we already did that.
Well, maybe you didn't get the fly this time. Like you just never even bothered to acquire it.
Oh, good point, I guess. You only have a ferret. Yeah,
Yeah, because you
that's
don't use the
stupid.
fly again.
um, yeah, the police dogs whose names are Princey and Gale,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the dog versions of Juan and Terry.
Yeah. Well, I mean these police are also what are they called? It's like Finley and Seidel.
Finley and Seidel.
Seidel.
Yeah. Oh, there was also at one point a security guard because they don't know who you are, and of course you
Mhm.
can't tell them your name because you don't. That's
You don't know
you.
it, yeah.
Um, one of them refers to you as No Name, and I thought maybe this story's about Nick.
I did have that note here. We get a little listener, a little patron, uh, whatever you want to call it,
Shout out.
Easter egg. I don't know.
Yeah, Nick No Name. Um, okay, so you want to go through these choices?
Yeah. Okay. So, so, if you turn into a hyena, then you start, I guess, attacking people, and then you get tranquilized. And this is the one where, when you wake up, you are in the garden's
Hmm.
hyena habitat, and 2 hours have passed, so now you're stuck in morph. So you're a hyena forever. But if you turn into a giraffe, then you run away from the all the handlers, and you jump into the lion pit to escape, and then you get eaten by a lion.
My
So you
reaction
get
to both of these is just, okay, cool.
yeah. So you
Uh,
gotta you gotta
cool.
turn into it. You gotta turn into it, the one of the police dogs. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
listen, it's there's a couple things here that just made me feel like they slapped. It was like, how do I? I've got a hyena. I've got a. How do I make that go wrong? And it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel natural. Like what? Giraffes can like kick and shit, right? And they're really tall. Like lions eat like baby giraffes. Like if you were in the lion pit, you wouldn't just get jumped by a single lion and whoops, you're dead.
Also, presumably a well-fed lion.
Yeah, a well-fed lion. You're actively being chased by park rangers with tranquilizer darts who would get the lion off of you. But I guess it just like eats you, and now you're eaten.
Also, looking at these three choices, the dog is the obvious one here, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. The
There's
dog is
no,
also the obvious one.
I mean, hyena, okay, I guess. Giraffe, in no world is that the right pick. It makes
Yeah,
no sense.
yeah. Like what are you gonna? I need to escape unnoticed. The giraffe.
It's absurd.
Yeah, it's very dumb. Although I did like the sentence, "You like being a giraffe."
Yeah, I do. I do. Is
Uh,
that more new morphs though? Still, these are new.
there's a new, and these ones you have, so you can keep
Yeah,
using the giraffe and hyena. This isn't like the fly and hamster.
right. Pretty
Uh,
good.
yeah. So if you morph into if you morph into the dog, this one actually it's funny because you've got the three chapters in a row, and this one, the middle chapter, is the right one. So you get to the end of that middle chapter, and it says, "Good morph choice. You deserve to proceed," and it kicks you forward. So if you morph Princey the dog and Finley and Seidel, they don't. They're like, "Oh, huh, weird. We got three dogs." It's kind of odd they don't recognize that one of those dogs is just a doubled dog. But
they
anyway,
all they all look the same. Come on.
I guess. Uh, but anyway, they're like, whatever. A third dog. That's weird. Anyway, we're controllers, by the way. We got to track down that kid because Chapman and Visser 3 said we got to be on the lookout for kids because there was kids at the construction site. So they
Mm.
you start I don't even think that's all in the book. That's just what it was in
I couldn't remember. I was
the
like, why are
invasion.
they looking out for a kid? I didn't get that.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that because in the invasion, like it's very spelled out. Like you have Tom going around asking, "Did you see any kids at the construction site?" And here it's just
Hmm.
they assume you just reread the invasion a bunch of times.
How does
Um,
that get resolved in the books? Because I feel like they aren't looking for kids for most of the series. They just think that they're Andalites. So why?
yeah, I mean, so in the series, I mean, they're not looking for kids who got morphing tech. They're looking for kids who just saw and know about
Hmm.
it. Visser 3
Hmm.
sees morphs and thinks, ah, there must be surviving Andalite bandits. And slowly they're just kind of like, well, I don't know. We never found those kids, but they didn't talk or whatever.
Right.
So I guess it's fine. They didn't blow our
Okay.
cover. And then also in like the first couple books, there are multiple moments where on the ground controllers are like, pretty sure these bandits are kids, but I'm not going to tell Visser 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, Anyway, yeah, so, like, you are there with the dogs, they're, like, tracking your scent, um, and you're, like, worried that maybe they're gonna lead them back to your house, and you end up leading them to Ms. Humphries' house so that you can sneak out the back door and get your clothes that you left there, so I guess you did take off your clothes to morph? I don't know. Anyway, you rubbed the sweatshirt all over town to confuse their scent. This part didn't make a lot of sense to me.
This
Like,
is insane. The idea that you're at the gardens, you're at this zoo amusement park, the police dogs are going to follow your scent all the way around the gardens, not get distracted by the 800 other animal scents that are everywhere in
well, they're
there.
well trained.
Okay. And they're going to follow you. They're going to track you all the way back. Like, presumably, it's got to be like across roads and highways to get back to your suburban
Yeah,
home.
but then they do lose your scent like right nearby, just enough that because if the real dogs know where the scent is, you can't try to lead them in the wrong direction. And then
They
and
go
then of all
next
the
door.
places you could have led them, you lead them to fucking Miss Humphries.
But where did Seidel and whoever leave their car at the in the parking lot and just walk with the dogs
I
like 10
guess.
miles to your house?
I mean, maybe the gardens is really close. Maybe you can walk there. I don't know.
I guess that must be the case. Or they drove and that one dog was just sticking its head out the window like that way. I don't know. It seems impossible for like just seems you're a dog, run away. They will not find you. I promise you'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially because you're like, what are they gonna do? Like, hey, Gail, go follow Princey's scent. There's
Right.
Princey.
Right.
Like, what do you?
Right.
Yeah, just run away. I
They're
don't
not
know.
gonna it's ridiculous, this idea that they could pick
Yeah,
up your human scent and trace it to your
I
house.
mean, I don't know. They do bloodhound stuff. Maybe I've watched too many talking dog movies where the hero dog finds the lost kid.
I think there's no way in a zoo they're gonna be able to keep a close enough watch on your specific human scent.
Well, maybe you
There's
just
just
don't.
no
You
way.
don't believe in the power of the dog. I don't know.
Look,
Listen,
if this dog was playing basketball or some shit, maybe.
I mean, what I really don't get is the rubbing your scent all over the neighborhood. Like, but then, because then it's like, okay, so I walked out here, and then they've got your scent all over the neighborhood. Is it not already all over the neighborhood because you're around here? Does that not mean they now know
Right.
approximately where you live? How did you not leave your scent when you put the sweatshirt on? I don't know what this part is. They should have just been like, and you got away. You got away. It's fine.
Yes. It's so much. It's so much. Um, it's interesting. This maybe was in the main series too. I can't remember, but the controllers refer to Chapman as Chapman instead of like his Yerk name.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, I think they refer to Ms. Humphries as Ms. Humphries as at some point.
They
Maybe I'm
certainly
wrong.
don't use a Yerk name. That's for
No,
sure.
there are no Yerk names in this entire book.
Again, like it feels like this book was written during like book 5. Like they didn't know what the series was. Maybe the person hadn't read those other books, whoever wrote this.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the intern idea,
Yeah.
then maybe yeah, maybe they just like went and read book 1. I mean, there's another book they talk about too, so maybe they read 2 books from the series. And that's it, just to prep. They
Yeah.
did number one. They picked another one at random.
So we have another choice here. Do we get to that?
Yeah, yeah, we got another choice. So so you remember, oh, when at one point the dogs were led through a parking garage and they got all nervous. So you're like, oh, maybe that's like a controller hangout. So I should like I'll head over there. And yep, sure enough, there's Tom and Yerks and whatever. So you got a choice to either turn into a ferret or a dog here.
Classics.
Yeah, in order to sneak in. If you
This is our
choose
third choice, right?
this,
Number 3.
yes, third
So
choice.
so far, 2 of our 3 choices have involved ferrets and dogs.
Yeah, why? Like, and in many standard books, this is where it would be like, try to investigate or wait until they're out of sight. Like go up to them and morph to
Mhm.
go up to them, or wait till they're out of sight to go. See. And then if you don't know, like, are you gonna get caught if you morph to go up there? Or are you gonna miss your window if you don't? Who knows? But yeah, here it's just what animal.
You're
Um,
also not in communication seemingly with any of the other Animorphs.
yeah, no, we're done with that, right? You ran away from the gardens, and now you're off on your own adventure again.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so if you turn into a dog, you like get in the elevator, and they take you down to the Yerk pool because I guess this garage is an elevator to the Yerk pool, and but then Finley recognizes you and is like, "Wait, what the heck's my dog doing here? Something's weird." And then we're in the climax of the book, right? Like this is where the whole big climactic battle takes place, except that if you turned into a dog, you're just kind of like held at gunpoint the whole time until Visser 3 kills you. Uh so whatever. And this is a
Well,
part where, because this chapter comes later, you get very little description. It's literally like, you went to the Yerk pool. Visser 3 turned into his monster and blew you up. It's like whatever.
yeah.
But if you turn into a ferret, uh, right, then you go in the elevator and Tom's like, "Oh, that's Ms. Humphries' ferret. We should probably leave it alone or we might blow her cover." And now we get an actual big long description of the pool, and it feels like, an actual passage. And yeah, Cassie's down here just because she got captured just like she did in the books, and the Animorphs have come down here completely independently of you, and they're having their big fight, and you join up with the Animorphs, and you get to have the whole big end of book 1 fight with Visser 3, where you're down in the Yerk pool and you escape and blah blah blah. Um, and you might notice at this point, we'll get to this, but you might notice at this point that we have now finished book 1 in its entirety. Like, we are at the end of book 1. Only 68 pages have gone by out of the 115, and it kind of feels like we're at a conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really 2 books here, but I do think it's funny that when you turn into a ferret, everyone's like, "Hey, what's up with this ferret? I don't know. Oh no, that's somebody's ferret. Oh, okay, I guess so." But when you're a dog, like nobody really cares. Like you get to the elevator and they're like, "Eh, it's a dog. I guess just let it go." Like someone else has to find you. Like what?
Well, the
What?
bandits haven't shown up yet, so people just let their dogs down in the pool constantly right now.
Yeah, I guess. Like I guess they should still be suspicious about
Yeah, right.
Andalites morphing. Like even in book 1, like, even if they didn't do the construction site or whatever, they still think Andalites might be around. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they think they won and killed them all, but you are right, there could be. I don't know. I don't think
Uh,
they're not
yeah,
bleeding.
right. I do think Ms. Humphries should be canon.
That's fair.
She's got to be a high-ranking controller
hmm
if they're worried about her ferrets.
Right.
I like the way they describe the Yerk pool, specifically in that it's much scarier than a test or the dentist.
I mean, the Yerk Pool passage did feel like the most actually written, I think, part of the book, where they were describing what it was like down there. I'm not saying it was great, but it felt more like someone wrote it.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like Or the tortured screams of their victims. Oh boy, even scarier than the dentist. This Pool's a real jerk. Another strange detail, they refer to a Hork-Bajir's tail blade, which I'm like, I guess they maybe do have that, but it feels like Andalites kind of have a trademark on tail blade. I don't know that I've
Yeah.
ever read that before.
Hork-Bajir, I think, have stuff on their tails, but I thought it was spikes. I don't remember. They could have
Yeah,
them.
yeah, like it's like technically maybe correct, but it sounds wrong. It sounds like an error. Um, Rachel, like you said, we get to see Rachel's. I do feel like they amp Rachel up. That is one thing I think they've taken. Rachel was always a little fierce, but
Hmm.
it's like she's just straight up murdering bitches here.
Yeah. I do think even in the first scene in the invasion, like in the actual fight, she's a little like
But I think it's
throwing
a
people
little
around and
more.
cackling.
Yeah, but I think it's still more like she threw them against the wall and it's kind of like ambiguous. I don't know what
Hmm.
happened, but there's a couple parts in here where it's like she just impales someone or whatever. Like it's clearly a murder. um, Also, this is a little bit different, right? Or maybe I just don't remember. But Tom tries to defend us as a human, like real Tom. Does that happen
uh,
in the book?
I think real Tom does do some like yelling or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
he's. I don't know that he does much, but he is real. Tom is doing something in the first encounter in the pool.
Okay, it's just been a while. One thing that I thought was a little bit strange about this scene that I noticed
Hmm.
is that if you could easily read this if you didn't know about Animorphs, and it it doesn't seem it's possible to read this and get the impression that Tobias does not become a Nothlit
Yeah,
because
it
they
is a
do not
hundred
mention
percent.
it.
Yeah, it's not mentioned that Tobias becomes a Nothlit. That just doesn't come up.
He just comes out with the rest like after the Yerkpool fight. It's like the gang's all here, and it just seems like he came out at the same time and everything's fine.
Yeah, and you could be like, ah, that's where the story starts to diverge because he's not Tobias didn't get trapped this time for some unknown reason. I don't know. Except that then, like in the later parts of the book, he just is a hawk. But then, maybe he's not trapped. Maybe he's just been morphing a hawk all the time. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't know.
They felt the need to, include certain details, but not that one.
Yeah,
Oh
I
well.
mean, they describe Nothlits because they had you get Nothlited as a hyena. I don't know. It is weird.
It's just like, you've read the books, you know. He's a hawk.
Yes. Yeah, and that really is, kind of what happens, is it kinda says you've read the books you know in this next bit.
Yada yada yada. You get it.
Yeah, because like, at this point, the quote at this point is in the next chapter is, "You've been on plenty of missions with the Animorphs," unquote.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, so that we just fast forward.
Yeah, we fast forward to they don't tell you how long it's been. They don't really give you any sense of, I'm reading this and I'm like, okay, so this is like what a couple of weeks later, maybe a month later. No, this is like 15 books later or something. Somewhere between like at least 10 books later, possibly as many as 20 books later. I don't know. And
Right.
Axe is just here now. They're just like, yeah, and then Axe showed up. No introduction as to who the hell Axe is. We don't know who Axe is.
Yeah, that's true. It's Axe. He's on the cover.
Yeah.
Look, he's in there. He's one of those little guys.
You know who Axe is. um and you at this point you start having these like flashes into the jungle. If you remember, like Jake did in book 11, The Forgotten. And you go up to him and you're like, "Yeah, it's like I was in the jungle but here at the same time." And Jake's like, "Oh, that sounds like what happened to me in book 11, The Forgotten." And Axe is like, "Uh-oh, is this another sorry o rip just like the one before that happened in book 11?" Eh, I don't it's 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 so much. They because the book 11 Sario Rip was already confusing and we already had a bunch of arguments about how it worked, and this makes it so much worse if you assume that this is canon. Um
Yeah.
Yeah, like Axe is like talking about the concept of maybe like a rift within a rift with no explanation as to what that means.
I love that,
Uh
by the way. A rip within a rip. He does Inception before Christopher Nolan.
yeah, I guess if he did it, is that what's happening here? I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know
like
what's happening.
a dream within a dream. Exhibit is like, hey, I heard you like rips, so we put a rip in your rip so you can rip while you rip.
That is basically what happens here. Cuz like okay, so you all flash into the jungle. So now all the Animorphs are in the jungle together, and it's the same jungle Jake was in. So and nobody remembers being here except for Jake, but Jake's like, "Yeah, I remember being here. This is where I was." And they're like, "I mean, I guess, maybe it's cuz last time they got here cuz there was an explosion. I This time that didn't happen. They just also bounced back here, and they're like, maybe it's cuz you made like the wrong choices, so like now we get to go back to do like the right choices or something."
Jake, you mean?
I guess, Jake?
Not you, like us, the reader.
I mean, I don't know. When I was reading this, I was kind of like, that doesn't make any sense in the context of the Saria rip as you explained it before. Maybe they're trying to subtly hint that like you, the reader, are making these Saria rips happen every time you pick a bad ending and go back. Right? And that's what we're doing here.
I wish that's what they were saying. I don't think they thought about it that far.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is some thematic overlap, right? Because in that book, like, there's this whole idea of like Jake made a decision, and then you go through this whole thing in the jungle, and he was like, this was a bad decision because I got there. He dies, and then that resets him back to the point where he made the decision. He makes a different decision, and they go a different direction. That is similar to the construction of a choose your own adventure book, and like it makes sense that that's why you might go to the Forgotten.
Mm,
I don't
that
know
would
though,
have been
because
cool.
the way that it is presented to you in this book, I really do not have any idea how this particular Saria rip works, or how what the fuck.
Well, hold on, because we need to step back here before we like
Yeah,
talk all day about the mechanics of Sario rips, which we shouldn't do because
no,
the book doesn't know. So why should
no,
we try to figure it out?
no.
We need to just comment on how insane this is. That you could. The Invasion is a book length book, right? You know how I
Yeah,
know this is because I read
yeah,
it and it was a book. Okay,
yeah.
it was a complete book.
It is one of the. I mean, it is the
It is a
longest non
book.
Chronicles Animorphs.
So it would be very easy. I mean, not like easy, but certainly very doable to
Yes,
take that book and turn it into a choose your own adventure book with more choices you're inserted into it. I mean, theoretically could even be longer than the original Invasion because you have more routes
right.
and things. So why they decided no, the Invasion is only enough to support half of a book, a short book, by the way. And for the second half, we need to just do a completely different other book. Instead of just having like way more choices or whatever, no, we just go to a new book halfway through. I, who, why, what is the impetus for this plan? It's the craziest, most non A to B decision I can imagine for this book. What is this choice?
Yeah,
It's madness.
and it's crazy because it really does like there's not a choice that you make in between these. It just skips. In fact, it says excellent morph. Turn to page 69 for your
Yeah,
next Animorphs adventure.
right. And then
Like it just
you just keep going. You just
I think
keep
you
going.
just keep going. Yeah. No, it's crazy. It is an insane choice. It is like when I was going through this, I didn't remember any of this Saria Rip stuff because, like I said, I never really reread this. So going through this here, I was just like, "Aren't we done? What's the rest of this book? What do you mean next adventure? What the fuck? How long is this time skip? What are we doing? The Sario Rip? The jungle? What's what the fuck? It
Of
is
all the
weird.
books,
Yeah,
not book 2, for instance.
right. No.
Maybe the next book, or maybe you skip ahead to like when Axe shows up or the Elemist or something. No, we're just the book 11 for some reason. I guess, like you said, it thematically ties in, except that they don't tie it in. So it's
Yeah.
just like there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, maybe this is the multiple interns idea because that it really does feel like there's two competing ideas. There's like, I think that the book that I want to do is this cool one that's about decisions and going back and forth into like alternate timelines that don't happen. That feels like a choose your own adventure. That's the choose your own adventure I want to make. Okay, but you can't do that because nobody thinks about Animorphs and thinks about like being in the jungle, right? I want to meet Elfangor and get my morphing power for the first time and fight Visser 3. So you got to just do the first book. What if we did both? Let's just do both. I'll write this half, and you can write that half, and we'll just stick them together.
It seems honestly more challenging to condense these books into one book than to just write them as two books. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get it from any angle.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
normally, if you are writing a choose your own adventure and you want to write two completely different, distinct stories, you have a choice at the first chapter. And if you
mm,
go left, you get story A, and if you go right, you get story B.
mm.
But
Or you
here,
could do
you
the
get
cool
story A,
thing.
and then when you're done, you just get story B too.
Yeah, you could do like, oh, if you read it from the back, like you turn the book upside down and it's another
Mm,
book. Like
that's
that's
true
kind of
too.
fun.
That could be fun. Yeah, it's like interactive.
Yeah, they didn't do that. I also was confused at first because I did forget the specifics of the Forgotten, ironically, given the title.
I
And that
mean,
I was like, I was just at first Jake was like, "Oh, this is this thing that happened to me." And I was like, "Why don't I know about this? I wasn't there. I was like busy that day. Like, I forgot
yeah.
that, oh, I guess everybody forgot it. Only he know or only
Yeah,
he's
well,
there."
there's also parts like that that are later. Like there's a bit with ant morphs where you're like, yeah, everybody else morphed ants but me back in book 5. I just wasn't
Right.
there for that. They told me it was bad, but I didn't know I wasn't there.
Again,
But
this is my nightmare, like panic attack dream of what I missed the ants. Oh no. Oh no, I'm not a real. I wish I was an Animorph. I'm letting Jake down. Why aren't I
yeah.
there? What am I doing?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, it's not surprising you would forget the mechanics because the Saria Rip showed up in book 11 and it showed up in Megamorphs 2 and it never showed up again and it had slightly different mechanics in both of those scenarios and they time traveled a lot more times but they didn't use the Saria Rip again. Which is another reason why this book feels like it was written in like the teens or
Yeah,
possibly early 20s is because it's like, well, there was a Sario rip right around book 18ish, and there was a Sario rip in book 11, and then we never did them again. So like by book 28, you're almost kind of like, shouldn't this just be the Elemist or the Time Matrix or something? We're not doing those
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. I kind of miss the Sario Rip. That's another one of those weird things that they sure spent a lot of time introducing to never talk about it again.
I mean, I do still have this impression of Sario rips being a bigger deal than they are. Like because as a kid, I started reading at book 20, so we just did a big Sario rip and there was, like that was a thing and people talked about it and I was like, yeah, the Sario rip, that's like a big and then it just stopped being a thing. But like even now I have this impression of it being a huge part of Animorphs when it really wasn't.
I mean, it should be a big deal. People in this universe should constantly be talking about Sario Rips.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
Andalites know about it.
yeah,
Axe
the
learned about it
fact
in
that it's a
school.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this seems like if human beings discovered that that was a thing, it would change the fabric of our lives forever. We would never stop researching it and all these things. And they're just like, whatever. We can move on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
um, here's a goof
Oh,
that I
okay.
didn't like is that all at the beginning of this chapter, you talk to Jake on the phone, and he does not. He's just like, "Hey, I got to tell you about the Sario Rip and shit" on the phone, as if Tom couldn't be listening in. I didn't care for that.
Well, see, there you go. See, well, you know what? In this universe, I think Tom died,
Oh,
so Jake
maybe
is
you're
safe
right.
now.
Okay, you're right. Also, I do like that they mentioned that your mom, in addition to the cake thing, she makes her own pizza,
Mhm.
and apparently, at least according to you, it's the best in town.
God damn. My parents also make their own pizza.
What are you, fucking Italian? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Maybe this book appeals to me because I'm kind of like the character in it. I'm kind of an animorph in a way.
I get that. Axe eats a licorice whip. I like that.
Hmm. I liked
We,
that too.
we
I,
get
I
the yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is probably exactly what you're saying, where he talks again about the
Yeah,
Andalite girl that distracted him, and but this
that's
time we
right.
get the sentence: "Young Andalite females can do that."
Yeah, pretty horny. And he says that the licorice whip tastes of red,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which, and then Marco's like, or somebody is like, no, it's cherry. And I'm like, no, Axe is right.
Yeah, Axe got it.
It's red. Okay, I'm ready for a choice.
Yeah. All right. So we get to either we got to get across the
We're in the
jungle.
jungle now.
We're in
Yeah,
the jungle.
we're
uh,
doing the Forgotten. We're here.
we're doing the Forgotten. We're just gonna do that book. Uh, so we either get to be a monkey, a parrot, or a parasol ant. Now,
I
before
think
we
we're
even get to this,
yeah.
do you think anyone thought ant was correct?
Probably. I also don't know what a parasol ant is. Should I know what that is?
I don't know. Some kind of weird rainforest ant, probably like a carpenter ant or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, in the book, they actually do monkeys,
Yes.
and then that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what happens in the book, but in this one it goes down a little different. If you turn into a monkey, you get shot down by a Dracon and
Oh,
die.
and impaled by a Hork-Bajir. You get both.
Yeah, you get both. One wasn't enough.
Oh yeah, and that is the part maybe you were talking about earlier with Rachel, where you bare your teeth at each other
Oh,
as
yes.
monkeys.
Yes, you bare your teeth at each other. You like start playing around and when you're doing that, Tobias starts getting kind of sulky because he sees you playing with Rachel as a monkey. He can't turn into a monkey to join in. He's feeling a
Yeah.
bit left out. He's like, all right, Rachel, that's enough hanging out with that guy."
Finally, my dream to cuck Tobias. Get in
That's
your
right.
cage, little bird. Um. Well,
Oh
surely ant must be the right choice then, right?
man. Yeah, surely, surely. No, if you turn into an ant, you get vored by a female sloth. A female sloth. They make a point. I specifically thought of it like it could have just been eaten, but I thought of it as vored because they went out of their way to let you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, of course. So then it's parrot, I guess.
Yeah, it is parrot. Yeah, so if you're a parrot, yeah, I mean the Yerks they're burning down the forest as that's what happened in the books, I guess. But when you're parrots, you get to see some of the like tribes people from the Forgotten. Remember how they met those tribal
The
guys?
tribe. They don't
The
say what
tribe.
they are. They're just the tribe.
Yeah, with Polo. Um, Anyway, they see those guys watching the Yerks, and so Cassie like turns into a girl in front of them. And we do the whole like bit where they pretend they're animal spirits and they need the tribe's help to get to the blade ship and beat the bad guys. Yeah. So that
I mean,
that
it's
whole
it's
scene
literally
happens.
just the Forgotten. It's
Yeah.
there's nothing here that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, it's basically this. The invasion did not have that many differences, but at least in between you could go home to your house, right? It's like the
Hmm.
plot of the invasion happens the same, but in between you got all these scenes where you're running around. Here it's like, yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Go run off in the jungle in a different place? Nah, you're just gonna be with the Animorphs and do the
Now it's
Forgotten.
just this. Remember the Forgotten? Here it is again, but shittier.
Yeah. You get to do it. You get to make choices and maybe get eaten by this sloth.
There is some I don't know, vaguely homoerotic dialogue between Jake and Marco
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
they're parrots like dancing around, and Marco says, "Well, work it, girl." And Jake says, "How do you know I'm a girl?" And Marco says, "Because that red tail is so adorable."
Oh yeah, no, oh yeah. Marco is flirting hard here.
He also says, he's like, I hope Tobias doesn't eat us. I don't think hawks eat parrots, Marco. I don't know, but I don't think that happens.
I think falcons might, but I don't think hawks do.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, like some of
Interesting.
those predatory birds eat other birds. Like it is definitely a thing. If you have like an exotic bird, you shouldn't necessarily like be letting it outside because it might get eaten if you're in an
Damn.
area that has raptors.
Fucking bird on bird crime.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
So
of
now what?
racism, what about the part where the tribals they describe them, I'm saying the tribals, they describe them as wearing something that looks like, quote, a diaper made of leaves. Now that's gotta be racist, right?
I don't know, because this is just, it's all just the same stuff from the other book. So it's just all out of my system now. It's like, is it racist? I don't know. It's this, we've done this already. I don't know.
Yeah,
They're a
that's fair.
tribe.
That's fair. That's fair. What about the bit where when you turn into an ant you get eaten by the sloth, but when you turn into a parrot you see the Hork-Bajir kill a sloth, and I think that's the sloth that would have
Yeah.
eaten you.
Oh,
That's what
interesting.
I
Yeah.
think.
They kill its babies too.
Yeah, they also killed and then Cassie gets all pissed off and
Get over it, Cassie. Jesus Christ. Aren't you fucking pro choice? Come on.
you would listen.
What?
Because I was just gonna be like, that sloth would have done the same to you had you turned into an ant, but no, you had to make it
What?
political.
I told you I'm a feminist. I'll scream it
uh
from the hills. I'll never stop screaming it.
All right, what about the bit where Rachel says, Look over there by that weird tree, the one with the roots?" I like that bit too. And they're like, "Rachel, that doesn't narrow it down." I thought that was funny.
I don't even remember that, but that sounds funny.
All right. All right. So, okay. So the guys from the tribe are going to lead you to the blade ship. So you're going to sneak on. You're either going to be a chameleon, a poison arrow frog, or a jaguar.
You know what? Is the reason they picked this? They did this just because the jungle has cooler morphs that a kid would want to turn into.
That
That
is
must be
also a
it.
possibility.
Yeah, I think that's the real reason. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, once again, one of the options is jaguar, and that was what they did in the book, but it turns out that one's wrong here.
boy, is it a jaguar or another kind of an animal? A red herring.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, if you turn into the jaguar, you get like ambushed, and then Visser 3 morphs into a Lurdathak and pops you with his vines. Um, Another funny part, at this point you would have read the description of what a Lurdathak was if you were reading all the chapters in order, so they don't bother to describe it to you in the jaguar section. Um, Now, more interestingly, if you turn into the poison dart frog, Visser 3 morphs into a Bahian and eats you. Right?
Yeah,
Which is not.
is that new?
Yeah, that's new. I've never seen a Bahian before.
Yeah, it's a boneless brown-green creature with 5 arms and sprinkler holes that spray water, and it has a sticky pink 3-foot wide tongue.
Right. Yeah. So you can picture that easily.
That is pretty good. And then
I,
he vores you.
yeah. And now it's not clear to me because, like,
3 feet
did he turn
wide.
into this thing because he saw the poison dart frog and he knew they were poisonous, but this thing can eat them and be safely? Or do you think Visser 3 eats you just because that's what he does and then he dies?
Who knows? Dunno.
Dunno. Anyway, those are wrong. Now, this one is the first time that these chapters are not immediately after. Like, if you read this, the correct chapter comes, like, pretty close to next here.
Yeah, but this is the one where, for me at least, the 2 wrong choices are basically the final 2 pages of the book.
Yes.
So it's like obviously wrong.
Yes, the 2 wrong choices, but they did at this point. But also, that's the other thing is they they didn't like space them out. They just took the two wrong choices and shoved them at the end of the book. You don't need to read those ones. Uh, like we don't
Right.
care about those. We're ready to just finish it off. Yeah, nothing is interspersed properly. Anyway, yes, you're supposed to turn into a chameleon to sneak onto the ship, which yeah, of course you are.
Duh.
Uh yeah, so like okay, so they do that. And you remember how in The Forgotten they had to like recreate the blast that sent them here or something like that, but then they couldn't because they destroyed the shipboard computer and the bug fighter, and so the Yerks weren't able to do it for them. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, in this book, they didn't do that because Jake remembered that that was a bad idea. So now they just sneak onto the blade ship, and Visser 3 makes the thing happen. And there's actually a bit here where they have an argument about like, oh, should maybe we just do we wait for them to like recreate the blast, or do we just kill Visser 3 like attack? And they're questioning it, and you're almost thinking maybe I could make that decision. No, you only get to decide whether or not to morph. Uh, or not even whether or not. You only get to
Yeah.
decide what you morph into. So anyway,
Yeah,
the
you're morphin.
yeah,
It ain't
you're
called
morphing.
Alterna not morphin.
That's right. So Visser 3 does the thing and they get sent ripped through time or something. Except when we get back, it's a year earlier, you see. We're a year too soon. And they're at the school and Marco's mom shows up. But I guess she isn't yerked yet, nor did she fake her death, except I think in the canon she should have been. And Visser 3 turns into a pit bull and attacks her. So you gotta fight off Visser 3 as a pit bull. Should you morph a hyena or Princey the dog or a giraffe? Now,
Not even
this
your
is just
jungle morphs.
fucking crazy. Like we're done with the jungle now. Now we're back in time a year and Visser 3 is attacking Marco's mom as a pit bull, not as a monster, as a pit bull.
It happens so fast. And I'm like, I really just had no idea what the fuck was going on because. So the idea is they kind of explain later, and maybe you can intuit this already, but he decided to go back to try to stop Visser 1 from like getting Marco's mom as a host. So right, so he's gonna kill the host?
Yeah, it's weird because you don't know that Marco's mom isn't a controller yet, and in fact, I think canonically, like 7 books after this one was published, it's going to turn out that she should have been. Um, but it it's not clear in this book whether or not she is, and then Visser 3 is trying to attack her and I guess kill her, but also it's not clear why killing the host if Visser 1's not in it would matter.
Yeah, it
They make
wouldn't
some point
matter.
about like, oh, Marco's mom must have been some very special host in some way, I guess, which also isn't true. I
But
don't
yeah,
I
and
don't know.
I'm wondering, like, so I'm just confused about all of that. So then I'm thinking, does he know? Did he somehow find out who the Animorphs are? Because he's like, we're there, and he's attacking like Marco's mom. Maybe he's going after us. But
Right, yeah.
then the other question is, as you said, why the fuck's he a pit bull?
Yeah, like he's
Why?
not keeping his cover. Why did he even get a pit bull in the first place?
Yeah, it's such a bizarre thing. That was his first Earth morph
Yeah.
just to test it out.
We know in canon Visser 3 is a cat person. Also, he loves
Oh,
cats. We know that.
right. Yeah.
So that's
God.
also a big mistake.
I really miss that side of him. When it seemed like maybe he had a character. Yeah, it's so weird. This all just happens at once after the Forgotten. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like it's jumping around so much. And like it's not even like, oh, the fun thing about it, choose your own adventures, you get to go wherever you want. So like, you've got 10 different pathways that all go to these crazy different places. No, this is we're here now.
Yeah,
Because
this
all
is
the
the
other ones you
climax.
died.
Everyone will read this. This happens.
Yeah.
It's just what happens.
Yeah. I
Now, this does introduce my second favorite character in the book after Ms. Humphries,
yes.
which is Patrolman Teeter.
Oh, not Ms. Petalowski, Marco's old homeroom teacher?
No, I don't. I don't like her.
Okay. Yes, it does bring in Patrolman Teeter, who I marked down as a stupid, silly name because I was just like, yeah, I gotta, anytime I see a dumb name character that's a one off, I just gotta make sure to put a little note of it. It turns out Patrolman Teeter is gonna be important. I was not expecting him to be mentioned ever again.
Critical.
Turns out he is critical.
Yeah. Well, what are our morph options here?
All right, so we can either be a hyena or Princey the dog or a giraffe. So if you turn into a hyena, then then Patrolman Teeter fucking shoots you with his gun and you die. And it says at the bottom, it says you should have thought about Patrolman Teeter.
Such a
You
funny,
forgot about
such a
Patrolman
funny line.
Teeter.
You should have thought about him. See, now at this point, when they first say patrolman, maybe this is my own ignorance,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking like a crossing guard or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, like, I guess it makes, I wouldn't call a crossing guard a patrolman, but if you say, like, someone directing kids through traffic, yes, I'm assuming a crossing guard. Like,
Yeah,
they
I'm
don't
not
get
thinking
cops
about
to do
someone
that.
who's armed. Like, why
Yeah,
is he hanging out at a school?
because if you got a cop to do that, he'd start shooting the kids.
Yeah, and this was definitely written, by the way, pre-Columbine, so we're still like, it's still weird.
Yeah, I don't, it's strange. Yeah, not what I pictured until he pulled out his gun, and then I was like, oh, I guess they meant like an actual cop.
Yeah, so he shoots
He
the
shoots
hyena,
you
shoots
and you
you.
die.
Hmm.
If you turn into the dog, then you lose the fight because the pit bull is a dog killer, and the pit bull kills you. Visser 3 kills you. Also, they do say like Patrolman Teeter, he's not going to help you out because it's just two dogs, and a cop would never shoot a dog, right? We know that they don't do that, so he's not going to help you.
He'll shoot wild African dogs, but not a good old American dog.
Right. Well, that's because, I mean, if you ever saw The Lion King, you know the hyenas are black, so there's a reason he's
Hmm.
opening fire on them.
Right. Of course,
Yeah.
it's a German Shepherd.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Uh,
yeah. The pit bull rips your throat out, so you do get to know what it feels like to be a baby when you read this.
this is the racist pit bull part of the show.
Yeah. So the right choice, of course.
The right choice was to be a giraffe, of course, because the giraffe is big enough to beat the pit bull, but, Patrolman Teeter would also never shoot a giraffe because they're peaceful animals. So
Yes,
that's why it was right.
He's got at home a little guide that's like pictures of different animals. Shoot and don't shoot. He's got a code that he lives by.
Yeah, if you turn into a giraffe, then you get to you like kick Visser 3 and I guess he, I don't know, dies or something or whatever, and then that brings you back to your own time. As soon as you kick him, you snap back, and now you're the only one who remembers the rip. Even though it sounds like they're like you're discussing it with Jake and X, and it sounds like maybe Visser 3 like made it. So like I guess, but then you remember it. I mean, it ends when you kick him, so like it ends because he died. But then maybe you're the one who killed. I don't know. I don't know why only you remember it. I also, but they're like, yeah, he manipulated the rip because he wanted to kill Visser. I don't know. They talk a lot about what might have been happening here, and none of it makes any sense to me, and I don't know. But whatever. You're back in your own time, and the book is over. We did it.
Yeah, we did it. And as Axe says,
Muffumsks. Yes, he does say that.
That's what he says. Read the book, folks. You'll see it.
Uh,
I mean,
that's
yeah,
that's Alternamorphs 1.
it's just such a nonsensical, crazy ending. The structure of this book it's unhinged.
Yeah.
It's half book 1,
Yeah.
half book 11. Well, I guess 40% book 11 and then 10% Visser 3 is a pit bull. I don't know what the fuck this is.
I honestly would expect an Animorphs Choose Your Own Adventure to be either the craziest every single chapter is a brand new idea thing, like this jumping the pit bull stuff, Or I would expect it to just be like book one and you just do the plot. But I would not expect it to be half just book one and then the other half is all the crazy shit. Like it's just so insane that it works like that.
Yeah. 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 I'm just so curious now what book 2 is going to be,
Yeah.
because I have no idea. Is it going to be book 15? Is it going to be a Megamorphs? Is it going to be an original story? I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I do not know. Like I said, I didn't really reread these much, so I have very little in the way of memories. Like as I was reading this, certain like things about it came back into my head, but like I don't reread these. I don't really know.
Clearly, it's not a good book.
No.
I mean, it is bad. um, it's I don't even. I think as a kid, I would even be disappointed with this.
Yeah, I do not remember being impressed by this as a kid at all.
Now, did this? I guess I'll wait. We'll talk about the second one next week, but we'll see if it gets better. There is some pop culture that we have to mention from this book.
There is, yeah. I took some pop culture notes too. Yeah, I want to hear what you got.
Yeah, unfortunately, since it was mostly readable chronologically, I didn't have to worry about like jumping around to find it all. So here's the references.
hmm
Um, when you see in the construction site, you say it's a UFO. You know it, and it isn't because you watch the X Files. I don't
hmm
really. What does that mean? It's why because you just know because you.
You're such a UFO expert that you didn't even have to learn what one was from the X Files. Because most people, they don't know. UFOs are pretty, like, niche and underground. Like, most people have only heard of them if they watch the X Files.
I guess. um, that when Elfangor gets eaten, you say it isn't every day you see an alien prince turned into McFood.
Okay.
It's a McDonald's reference.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it also doesn't make sense because McDonald's food is food. Like he's turned into food. You could say like turned into a Big Mac, and that's kind of funny because you're like, oh, like you'd eat him like a Big Mac, but McFood? Uh, Am I
Yeah.
wrong? What's McFood? It doesn't. Whatever.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay,
It,
great.
it's always a Mick type of food.
Yeah, it's like or like you could say a McAndalite or
Yeah,
something, but
McAndalite. That's right.
yeah, Andalite nuggets or something. I don't know. It sounds like you're jumping on styrofoam. I think
hmm
that's capitalized. We've done this before, as well as sheetrock, which is
hmm
mentioned. Of course, the Taxons get Jello eyes. No salad shooter references, sadly.
Yeah. Sucks.
And the Lurdathak can just pop you in its cavernous mouth like good and plenty.
hmm I got
But
two more. One
I'm
is the hamster
two.
named. Oh, you're not done? Or you are done,
No,
rather?
no, I was
Okay.
shocked that you have two more.
Oh, well, one is Hamlet the hamster, I don't think you mentioned.
I guess that's a reference. I guess.
All right. So the other one, there's a bit where they're morphing into chameleons. And Marco says, "Are we Martians or reptiles?" But then because he morphs in the middle of it, the rest of the sentence comes out, "Ack ack." I think that's a reference to Mars attacks.
Shut the
It
fuck
says
up.
Martians and then it says "ack ack." You're going to tell me that's not a reference to Mars attacks?
Yeah, I think I'm going to tell you that.
I think you're wrong. Marco is 100%. It's a Marco line.
All right, so the response to Seerowpedia, I'm going to say ack ack. Or maybe I'll say umfx.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, I
Umfx.
think.
uh, no, you know what? I'm just going to combine. I'm going to say, nah, we just playing. Should I say fam? Or is that too much?
I mean, if you're gonna say nah, we just playing, you might as well say fam.
Okay, and with a winky face. And then you'll have to listen to the entire series to find out. And then another, you know what? Two more winky faces.
Yeah, well, I think as many winkies as you can get in there is probably a good idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what's the character limit?
I mean, I'll just do like 10.
Okay.
Okay, I just commented it.
Okay, good. I'm glad that was resolved. Everybody's been wondering about that since the episode started.
Yeah, well, that's called bringing things full circle. So I don't know, we'll see next week, because now that we've covered our bases, and now that we've like gone over our thoughts about the structure of these books, Alternamorphs 2 might just be, well, this sucks. Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm honestly not 100% sure. I'm hoping they improved a little bit on the structure of this book or something.
Maybe we'll even find out who wrote the next one. I don't know. We'll see.
Actually, I have bad news for you about who wrote the
Oh
next one.
no.
Is
What?
I believe we do know who wrote the next one, if Seerowpedia is not lying about this as well. And they've written one other book. Can you guess which one other book they've written?
Damn, I don't know. I can't. I'm sure it's a ghost written book, and I'm sure it's a bad one, but it's not coming to me what it is.
It's the second Helmicron's book.
Okay.
Well, so we'll see.
Stay tuned for that. If you just can't wait for more Yerky Boys, we're over on the Patreon this week. We are going to be reading book 1 of K.A. Applegate's own Everworld series. So if you're an Applegate head, you definitely want to get over there.
Definitely.
Patreon.com/the Yerky Boys. What else can they do?
I mean, I guess they could email us if they want to talk to us. We could read that on the show as opposed to like tweets and stuff. If you email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com, we will read it on the show. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, and Seerowpedia, if you're listening, fuck yourself.
Fuck off, Seerowpedia.
Oh, you made it kind of sexy. You can follow me online if you like hearing my voice at jonathanestes.com. That's my website. You'll find links to my other podcast, my newsletter. I write for a Nintendo website, all kinds of lame shit. Check me out over there.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about Alternamorphs 2, the next passage in which you, yes you, turn into a hawk on the Yerky Boys.
Why